Herb, this is your first time on.
Yeah, I might just lurk.
Okay. What made you jump on, though?
It was available. I caught it right as it was popping on. So I'm like, yeah, why not?
How are things in the Temple of Horus on the prairie?
Well, our pool cleaning, the booster pump for our pool went kaput. So the robot can't clean the sacred pool. So the sacred pool is looking a little green.
You have a robot that is cleaning your sacred pool of Horus?
Well, it's really more of just a swimming pool, but it's just a big swimming pool. Problem is, it's really deep, and so it has like a robot that's powered by a booster pump to clean all the leaves and stuff from the bottom, but the ball bearings went out.
Mm-hmm.
I've been having to deal with that. But we got a new member who's a next door neighbor. She just moved in, and just trucking along.
Paganism is spreading.
I mean, for a small town, we're not doing bad. Although I've lately been working on our Substack. I've been working on a non Neoplatonic theology.
Non-Neoplatonic.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves Platonism, and that's fine. But I think the forms and the hen ads and everything's a little clunky. So I kind of wanted to look at it more from a different perspective, like an alternative. So more dealing. I came with there was a paper that talked about fundamental consciousness as the ground of intelligibility.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily saying that everything is conscious, but that your root, kind of the root thing, is this consciousness. And I kind of applied a lot of Jungian stuff to it as well, trying not to make too much speculation. Trying to kind of not rely so much on Greco-Roman philosophy if I can. Something more, I guess, in-house.
But the Greco-Romans thought the Egyptian pantheon was their pantheon.
Well, they thought everyone's pantheon was related to theirs. I mean, that's fine. It's people will look at others through their own lenses.
Are you telling me the Greeks were the original Muslims?
Ooh, I wouldn't insult the Greeks that way. Although the Greeks also had their taste of Islam through the Ottomans.
I can't believe I walked into a conversation with what seems to be an actual pagan.
I have my moments.
You've seen Herb on my Discord, haven't you?
What's his name again?
Horunuketi, something Enjoyer.
Okay.
Right now it's Omride Enjoyer. It was previously Manetho Enjoyer. Then I made it Shirk Enjoyer.
Maybe, but if are you like a Crowleyan?
Oh, how dare you!
That's not an insult. Like most pagans I know are like into that, but
no. I used to kind of hang out around the Crowley types, and they're interesting folks. Good conversation, which is always a plus with me. But he has nothing to do with ancient Egyptian. Like it's except a very surface level skin suit kind of Egyptian. He does a lot more Hermetic Kabbalah, which, as I found out, is not real Kabbalah.
It's not real Kabbalah.
But in the end, it's mostly just tantric sex magic for Westerners. If you really
I've seen images of Aleister Crowley dressed in like as Pharaoh of Egypt with the Egyptian Pharaoh like head garb and.
So that's actually golden. So he was part of an occult order called the Golden Dawn, and that's his kind of Golden Dawn attire. The Golden Dawn would wear nemesis, like the Egyptian headdresses, as part of their ritual attire. But again, they too were incorporated Mesopotamian astrology, Greek Kabbalah, tarot. It was a bunch of posh, upper middle class British guys playing dress up.
Have you seen the certified worst movie in human history, Manos: The Hands of Fate?
Yes.
I have no clue what that is.
It was made by a lawnmower repairman as a hobby. There's like a scene for where it's 5 minutes of the guy just dragging a body off.
I mean, I've seen other similar, I don't know, 60s, 70s sex cults. Like, there's been a lot of them. Like imaginings of what pagans and Satanists could be and should be like, which I it's weird. It's
Yeah, and the most unfortunate thing is that the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey, was unfortunately, guess what ethnicity he came from?
no idea.
He was actually Jewish, which is
Was he?
unfortunate.
Are you sure about that?
Anton LaVey, he was not religious, but I've read that he was born Howard Santon LaVey, that he was born to a Jewish family.
Oh, so that was the stage name. LaVey.
Anton Zandor LaVey. Let's see, early life. Was born Howard Stanton Levey, Levey, on April 11th, 1930, in Chicago, Illinois, to Michael Joseph LeVay and Gertrude Augusta Ney Coltrane. This doesn't sound very Jewish name to me. Gertrude Augusta Coltrane?
Gertrude, I could see, I could dissociate that with the Jew, but I don't know, I yeah, Howard Stanton LaVey, that sound.
Well, he was a carny, and so all of his ritual and stuff was pomp, right? And he did get a rise out of people.
LeVay later claimed to have seen that many of the same men attended both the bawdy Saturday night shows and to the tent revival meetings on Sunday mornings, which reinforced his increasingly cynical view of religion. He cites as the impetus to defy Christian religion as he knew it. Yeah, I don't see anything about him actually being Jewish.
Okay, I think I read that on, maybe it was another website, but I heard somewhere saying that he was Jewish. It could have been something.
I hear this a lot from people on the internet, and as my favorite quote from Abraham Lincoln, here, let me find my favorite Abraham Lincoln quote.
I think I know. Is it going to be a truth told on accident is still a lie?
Pretty close, but I want to actually show this beautiful, whatchamacallit, on screen so everyone can remember it. This is my favorite quote of Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, I could see this working with so many famous historical figures, but Abe Lincoln is Honest Abe, so I mean, to be fair, there's also Honest George.
Yeah, every time I get quotes, before I will retweet a quote, I will actually check to see if it's an actual quote. And if you look at my timeline, you will see I don't retweet very many quotes because they're generally just bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much C.S. Lewis and G.K. Chesterton posting.
You know, even the one thing of G.K. Chesterton that I really like quoting isn't an actual quote, which is the gates of hell are locked from the inside. He wrote a story in which that is part of it, is that, but there's no actual quote of the gates of hell as such. Yeah.
Okay, because that's, I mean, that sounds like something Chesterton would say, but yeah.
Yeah, no, he wrote a story where there's somebody who's in hell who gets on a bus to heaven, and he has to go and open the doors to hell, and he realizes that they're locked on the inside. But yeah, there's no actual single line.
Yeah. Well, Lewis is probably more quotable for you, Jacob, than Chesterton, because like heard Lewis was more Philo-Semitic. I don't know if that's true. I've heard that he actually married a Jewish woman and was.
That's not Philo-Semitism as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, I've seen quotes online, which, to be fair, many quotes online are bullshit. That from Chesterton that seemed to indicate he had prejudice against Jews.
I am telling you, most important quote you will ever see on the internet.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not talking about A.K. Chesterton, who was his fascist brother, I think, or cousin? There's another Chesterton, I think A.K. Chesterton. He's the one who wrote the speech, Spiritual Typhus. I only know this because it was in a Marshall Industrial song that I listened to once.
Cal W says he did. One of his adopted sons became Orthodox. He apparently kept a kosher kitchen so he could visit. So there you go. So,
Interesting.
tip of a hat to C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, how kosher can you keep a kitchen if you're not Jewish?
I mean, I know isn't there a halacha against eating? It's like betul goyim or something like that. You can't eat cooked food.
Bishul, yeah, bishul akum. Yes.
Bishulakum. Okay, yeah. So you can't eat food cooked by a non-Jew, but if he bought kosher meat for his son, presumably his son could cook it for himself.
Yes, and he would have to keep it sealed until his son came. But yeah.
Thank goodness for shrink wrap.
Donnie says Bishop Barron video with Rabbi Soloveitchik is very encouraging. Jacob, thanks for recommending. Byzantine SCOTUS Gideon Lazar is actually the person who recommended it. But Donnie doesn't actually read my Discord, unlike some people.
Bishop Barron, I presume was this Mayor Soloveitchik? Is that the son of Joseph Soloveitchik?
Nephew.
Nephew, okay.
Great nephew.
So is Mayor Soloveitchik? He did a video with Bishop Barron about something.
Yeah, they had a discussion. Yeah.
Okay, because I saw the only time I remember seeing Bishop Barron doing something with Jews was when he either does it with Ben Shapiro or when he did one with David Wolpe. But like, neither of those people, I don't know if you have a lot of respect for.
I do not. Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik, I have a lot of respect for.
I think you should have a little bit more respect for Shapiro, just because from what I've seen, he seems to be a pretty good guy. But
I mean, he's smarter than I am. He's more orthodox than I am. He's a better person than I am. But at the same time, he's not exactly what I would call someone I would respect as a religious figure.
well, yeah, but I mean, he's also a political commentator. That's not his job.
He
Like,
can
Yes.
also play the violin really well, apparently.
Unfortunately, too many people think that he is a religious commentator, and that's my problem.
okay, well, I mean, yeah, but you can't blame him for his audience's mistake.
Yeah, I can.
Did you
Well,
see
no,
there was a
'cause-
debate? He was chatting with William Lane Craig, and Craig was trying to like shill Jesus to him. And Tobias Singer did kind of a takedown of the of Craig's arguments.
It was actually interesting seeing Bishop Barron at the end trying to sneak Jesus in, and Rabbi Soloveitchik basically body slammed him, which was. I'm not sure everybody understood the body slam, but I thought the body slam was pretty good.
The issue is never the issue. The issue is bringing people to Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Barron did not, to some extent, preach the gospel, which he tried to do intelligently, but yeah, I think Soloveitchik absolutely body slammed him.
Was having none of it.
Well, I mean, he did it tactfully and nicely, but so Bishop Barron asked about Paul of Tarsus, and Rabbi Soloveitchik's response was, "Well, do you think Paul imagined that the fulfillment of Jewish messianic promises were actual fulfillment of, me and my children actually being caught in traffic in Jerusalem? apparently there's a verse in Isaiah that the crowds will be, that it will be crowded in Jerusalem. I forget which exact thing he was going to, but he basically um, exposed Paul of Tarsus as somebody who doesn't actually believe in the literal fulfillment of the Hebrew Bible. So, yeah. And Yon God wants to know, Herb, if you can actually read hieroglyphics or not.
So I like very basic, kind of like I would say survival level. I do Ptolemaic hieroglyphs, and so I was too cheap to get volume 5 of the Edfu Temple because it was like $200, and so I have the original hieroglyphs of it. So those are available online, like open source now. But I was basically, there were a few prayers and liturgies there that I thought, hey, I don't need to spend the $200. I can translate these 4, and and like I was able by because I have a hieroglyphic dictionary and some other translations of some of the text. So between that, over the course of a couple of weeks, I was able to kind of internalize a bit, so I kind of can know some of them and kind of at sight. Like it's kind of like probably the equivalent of like a 4-year-old learning English. But then eventually, after I was translating a few more, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to break down and get the book myself. So I got the book. But yeah, I can read it, but don't think of me as someone to go to as an expert per se. It would take me about a couple days to do a few lines, but it was always very fun.
Where do you live, out of curiosity?
Oklahoma. That's why we're Horace on the Prairie. Get it? Kind of like Little House on the Prairie. And the acronym HOTP, Horace on the Prairie, also spells Hotep. Neither of those were planned. They just happened as a happy coincidence. So.
Sure, coincidence.
Yes, okay, it's divine revelation to me. It came in a dream, but yes.
Okay, so how are your translating of hieroglyphic skills compared to Joseph Smith's?
My cat's hieroglyphic translating skills are better than Joseph Smith's.
Hey, Joseph Smith translated the entire book of Abraham.
Joseph Smith wasn't done with his fanfic of Christianity and Judaism, so he's like, you know what? We're going to do some more. And this is funny because, like, at the time when he was doing this, we had the Rosetta Stone, and they were they were doing the translation, but basically the way of translating hieroglyphs had not made it to America yet. And so he was kind of, I think, betting on like, hey, I'm probably going to die before anyone can call me out on this.
I actually don't think he was. I think most people are bad actors, and if they are going to actually perpetrate a fraud, they kind of have to convince themselves of it. I think Joseph Smith convinced himself of a lot of things.
Yeah, and I think eventually, if you have, especially if you get a following, you start to really believe your own PR. And yes, the Emerald Tablets are fake and gay. They are a medieval Islamic invention.
What are the Emerald Tablets? I've never heard of these things.
It's the Emerald Tablets of Hermes. They are attributed to Hermes Trismegistus / Thoth. That's where the phrase "as above, so below" comes from. They are, again, it's something. I think it's dated to like the early medieval Islamic period or Arabian period, like just after that. So it's and really, I would argue a lot of Hermetic stuff is more Neoplatonism, Gnosticism, playing fanfic on ancient Egypt, because now it was people could get away with that during like the 1500s and 1600s when we didn't know, but now that we actually know what the Egyptians kind of said about themselves, it's like even like there was a book of Thoth where he's like talking to a student, and I have the review of it basically, but it's like there's very little. The only parallel between that and all of the Hermetica is the fact that Thoth is talking to someone. So they took the kind of format of a student teacher chatting but put their own things onto it. So
Is
Hold on,
this the same?
it says the earliest known versions are 4 Arabic recensions preserved in mystical and alchemical treatises between the 8th and 10th century CE. I mean, that seems pretty old.
yeah, but remember, ancient Egypt. So by the time, by by the 4th century BC, you're talking about Constantine. You're probably talking about the Christianization of Egypt by then, and even probably by late antiquity, as Coptic gained prominence as a language in Egypt, the liturgical language of Middle Egyptian was gradually forgotten. So my kind of view is that by the 3rd or 4th century AD, a lot of the Egyptians had kind of forgotten their religion. And so a lot of the Hermetica would kind of fill in the gap. This probably informs my opinion about, liturgical languages and such. How old it is, we don't know. But again, none of the idea of as above, so below, all that other stuff necessarily finds its way in Egyptian literature. In fact, I would argue a lot of Egyptian proverbs are probably closer to ancient Near East in some cases.
So are you like an Orthodox Egyptian pagan?
I don't. So there was no Egyptian orthodoxy. Different cults would have different kind of variations on the mythology. Certainly, when a pharaoh took over, his kind of spin on it, or his interpretation, or his the cult of his city where he came from would be more prominent. So they would then have to kind of combine their gods and kind of shuffle around and go, okay, well, this god's also the same as the others, kind of join the party. But I specifically focus on the Temple of Horus at Edfu.
Okay,
As
because
my theology.
you seem a little bit purist about it. Like like this Emerald Tablet. Like I don't think, in my experience, most people who call themselves pagans online are fine with like modern Hermetic inventions and mixing up the different pantheons.
So I am a Reconstructionist. I have no problem like going to other religions and kind of it's like Alexander, right? You'd have Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, Jews all rubbing and Persians all rubbing elbows and going to each other's like places having discussions. But I try to kind of stay on target, so to speak. I also have certain issues with the theology of Hermeticism, and kind of like later occultism, especially as it becomes like with the whole non-dual yoga thing. Like I think it kind of gets off into some weird alleys. It's kind of like why I decided not to be a Thelemite. Because at some point I'm like, okay, they're kind of cool. And then there's like, okay, this is huge divergence of, okay, one is saying something and they're saying something very different.
Yeah,
I might also have listened to too much James Lindsay in his criticisms of Hermeticism and Gnosticism. But again, I kind of want to keep it at that 200-ish BC kind of, or at least the completion of the temple, and kind of think, okay, how did they see things? Anything else is kind of fun, kind of gravy, kind of frosting on the cake, but I kind of want to look at get the core elements down pat.
So Yoav has a question for you, Herb.
Yeah.
Serious question to the temple. Do you think Solomon's temple was Egyptian to any extent?
No. I think if there's any similarities, it would be the fact that they're kind of that similar ancient Near East or kind of Eastern, Southeastern Mediterranean milieu. If I were looking at cultural overlaps in traditional Israelite religion, I would look probably more toward their Canaanite or even their Sumerian neighbors. I mean, there was, you could probably say maybe some like I don't know. It's like, is the Ark like a shrine bark for the Egyptians? Like I don't know. As I'm not as versed on Canaanite religion, but I try not to kind of play the game of, oh, well, you copied from us, or you copied from us. I kind of look at like what was in the air, what was the exchange back and forth. I'm not here. I'm not playing. It's not a competition to me.
Yeah, and if I may, Jacob, I actually have a question to you related to that because I read online from somebody who I'm going to mention in a little second, but I'm not going to mention off the bat because that might sour your answer to the question. That basically the Star of David, as we understand it, actually was called the Sign of Solomon, and that had Egyptian occult origins. And I wanted to know if that was completely false.
I mean, it depends who who you ask. I know the Rebbe believes it's an ancient mystical um, symbol that predates all of the things that generally secular scholars imagined. Um, as far as I have seen, secular scholars either believe it's yeah, I know. um,
Oh, Candace Owens.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm referencing
okay,
Cancel.
yes,
How did you know?
because she's been saying all these stupid things. By the way, did the Egyptians actually worship cats?
No. All right. So first off, my when I look at the Seal of Solomon, it seems to go back to like medieval grimoires as a mystical symbol. We don't see the six-pointed star appearing in Egyptian hieroglyphs. Their hieroglyph for a star wasn't even the pentagram. It looked like like an asterisk more than anything like that. And in Greek, now the Greeks had the pentalpha, but I wouldn't look necessarily to Egypt for. I don't see the hexagram anywhere in Egypt.
The one thing I don't even remember where I heard it, but it sounded plausible to me was that David two deltas interlinked was used as a standard by Jews in Roman times
Yeah.
as a sign of David, and I think that doesn't sound ridiculous to me.
Well, like the pentagram is the pentalpha, which was 5 alphas. So kind of making glyphs out of letters seems more like a Greek thing. Now, when we're talking cats, no. There were deities who were depicted as feline headed, and they were generally protective, or kind of like fighter. They're basically fighters. They would defeat evil, but the cats were not worshipped. Cats might be so animals would be considered, I would say, visible signs of a deity's. It's called the ba. The ba would be, I would say, like a theophany or a visible sign of a deity. Kind of like how like the dove symbolizes the Holy Spirit in Christianity, but they don't worship doves. But they might use doves and say release doves at a funeral or during a John Woo movie. So that's probably the relationship they would have to actual, like, say, cats and dogs. So no, they didn't worship the animals themselves.
I don't think you've heard of Chris. Oh, now I'm forgetting his name. But there's a YouTuber who actually debated with our good friend Sam Tiedemann about the Trinity. And during the debate, he brought up Near East protective bird imagery as a argument for the Trinity. And I have to say, not only was it the most creative, I also think it's actually the most persuasive argument for the Trinity that I've heard, which isn't to say much, but still, yeah.
Well, what is it?
Well, so I do believe he was right when he said in the Near East, protective bird imagery, like in the Torah, over and over again, you see God being compared to a protective bird. It usually gets translated as an eagle, but it's probably actually like vulture, Nesher. And so his argument was that when the dove comes and lands on Jesus, that is uniquely Trinitarian because a protective bird, and then Jesus uses protective bird imagery similarly. Mm-hmm. And so it was both novel and actually not ridiculous, unlike most things that Trinitarians say. So, yeah.
Well, we the winged disc as a form of Horus was a protective, like it would be over all the doorways. Mm-hmm. Yoav, what is it? The temple is Egyptian in the sense that the White House is Roman. As far as like architectural inspiration, I have no clue. Like Herod's temple obviously was probably built more along Roman lines. But what the original Solomon's Temple, if it had, like, say, the Egyptian papyrus, like the lotus, so the Egyptian columns would look like bundled lotuses or like bundled reeds or like a lotus flower, kind of like that flower, that tree imagery. Kind of go with the theme of the walled garden that Jordan Peterson talks about. So the Egyptian temples though would have kind of this vaguely trapezoidal shape. So they'd have two big pylons in the front that were kind of big trapezoids. Then they'd have an open courtyard with a column courtyard. Then you'd go into the pronaos, and then you'd have successive, rooms into the Holy of Holies. Now, the Solomon's Temple does seem like a truncated version of that, with your courtyard, your outer chamber, your inner chamber. But I don't know if that's necessarily Egyptian per se versus just broadly ancient world or ancient Near Eastern. I don't want to necessarily take credit, for it in one place. But definitely the idea of a Holy of Holies where only certain people were allowed. As you get further and further into the temple, it becomes, more holy, more screened off, more exclusive. That definitely, there's a common theme there. Again, I don't know if it's arising from the similar longing, one influence the other. I wouldn't be able to venture a guess, but it's kind of cool.
So I was able to find this. So archaeologists apparently have found that this design for column heads was uniquely like a symbol of the first temple among Jews.
That looks like an Ionic column a little bit. I've seen that before. I've seen that before in books where they talk about the capitals. Yeah. That looks more like an Ionic column than an Egyptian one. Egyptians, the columns did not have like the curling on itself. It would kind of taper out a little bit. That seems more like, someone said like Phoenician. Yeah, I would look more toward the Eastern Levant or toward the Levantine area if I wanted to see similar like capital decorations. That's definitely nothing I would see in Egypt, especially the square format. That definitely seems probably Canaanite. Looks cool though.
It is what it is. So there you go.
Now I have seen like winged disc imagery in certain coinage of Israelite kingdoms, and we do see in Roman Egypt or Alexandria, we'll see like amulets that have Horus on it, either as a falcon or a winged disc or a child in one of his different formats, and it'll have Iao at the same, accompanying him, which was, Yahweh and Yahoo in Greek. But again, that's a very late provenance, and it's probably more like that folk syncretism. Because remember like in a Mummy, when the guy like tries to ward off the mummy, Arnold Vosloo, and he just takes every single like holy symbol around his neck and tries to like which one will work. A lot of like the Greek magical papyri seems like that. Like you'll see them using Iao, Greek name, Greek gods, Roman gods, Egyptian gods, different. Even I think Abrahamentos might even be Jesus. It's kind of like they're basically using as many cool god names as they could to kind of power their spell. So I think that folk magic might be more where you see that combining of pantheons. Kind of like, hey, whatever works, load everything in the chamber.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard many modern pagans do that. I mean, so the main guy I've heard that's famous for merging these pantheons and seeing what works would be Crowley, and then the second one would be some guy named Julius Evola. I don't know if you've encountered him.
I despise Julius Evola.
I heard he was influential in some of these pagan circles for merging the different pantheons.
He was a perennialist. The idea that all the religions are listed at one thing. So was like Gwenon, although Gwenon became a Sufi. I think perennialism kind of goes a little too far. Like you can say, like the Greeks go, we can see this god is similar to this one. Like the Greeks actually compare I think the Romans compared Yahweh to Silas, the sky god, or they compare him to Jupiter. They would even compare him to Dionysus, but that's based on, I think, a mistake, like kind of a linguistic mistake on their parts. But so Evola was the pagans who favor Evola are like neo-reactionary, unironic like Nazis or fascists, like because he was very much a fascist type, and he was big on that. Like some people may get to him because they see he is like, oh, he's like a spiritual warrior kind of cool guy, um. But when you get into him a little bit, he really goes down into some dark alleys. I'm
Well,
not a fan of that.
that's interesting because I heard that Heidegger actually had a criticism of both him and Spengler, Oswald Spengler, and he's very big in these neo-reactionary circles. But that's good to
Yes,
know.
yes, Cal. He didn't believe necessarily that races were like he was more about like there are some people who are born to lead and others who are born to be slaves. Uh, Nietzsche on steroids, but I think he very quickly talks about you know bad things about the Jewish or the Jewish religion and stuff like that. Said he became paralyzed because I think he was in Italy, and he would basically during shelling and like bombing raids he would just walk around the town he was in to kind of like clear his mind and try to be all edgy, and he eventually got hit by one. Like Savitri Devi is another. So he looked to like yoga. He's the one when people talk about being in Kali Yuga. Oh, we're in Kali Yuga, Kali Yuga. They're taking a page from Evola. The idea of like riding the tiger. That's also an Evola phrase. What's her name? Savitri Devi was a similar, and they both kind of went into very anti-Semitic, very unironic like fascist ends. And I don't say that term lightly.
Yeah, well, Devi, I heard was more. I'm not just paganism in general. I heard she was specifically trying to be influenced by Hinduism. She had
So
some weird vision. Like I heard that she thought like Hitler was some sort of reincarnation of Vishnu or something like that.
well, yeah, well, because remember, like when Hitler talked about the Aryans, right? They actually went on. Himmler actually went on expeditions to I think India and Tibet, trying to locate like the original Aryans. And so, like Evola too was influenced by Hinduism. It's like the idea of Kali Yuga is a Hindu term. Of course, they completely use them in a completely different context. And of course, the swastika was very even though the Hindu swastika is different than the Nazi swastika, and this really goes back to like even like theosophy, because theosophy talks about the term of the Aryan. Although for them, we're all technically all humans are Aryans, but there was a lot of, and then of course there was like the Thule Society, which was this lost continent of Thule where they thought the Aryans came from. That was way up north and way north, and the icy conditions made them better people. Like you can get if you go into like weird esoteric fascism and Nazism, you can go to you can stumble in some really bizarre places. So not my thing, but it's
I
it's
see
kind of
Jacob.
Christian identity movements.
I see Jacob smiling, and I don't know why Jacob's smiling, but
It's funny.
It is absolutely hilarious, especially when you read like Theosophy, because she just like combines like. Although I think she eventually like it's found that she basically made most of her stuff up, Blavatsky, but she would actually trick people by like using wet tissue paper and say it was ectoplasm. She's the one who gave the terms the Akashic record and like the astral plane, the mental plane, the emotional plane, and the ages of man, like the new age, very much the new age thing. The Aquarius is that we're going to enter a new phase of human evolution, and it's very collective evolution.
Yeah, that sounds very much like Dilemma, because I know Crowley had this idea of like different stages of history, but I don't know exactly if that ties into what Blavatsky is talking about.
Crowley didn't have good things to say about Blavatsky. Obviously, he was in that milieu and kind of was beat. But see, he was more influenced by Golden Dawn, but he was really influenced a lot by the Plymouth Brethren because he grew up in the Plymouth Brethren, and they are a guy Darby. I forgot his name. I think Joseph Darby. I might have him with some other Darby, but so he was taking a page from Plymouth Brethren dispensationalism. And they talked, I think Darby coined the term, the age of the Father, the age of the Son, the age of the Holy Spirit. So it was 3 ages of man. That's where Crowley gets his 3 ages of man.
And what are names? What are names in Crowley's religion for the 3 ages of man?
The age of Isis, the age of Osiris, the age of Horus. Okay. Now he was also looking at like anthropology at the time that taught the idea that in human prehistory was all matriarchal societies and nature worshiping. So that's what he felt the Aeon of Isis was, nature worship and matriarchy society. So very that Margaret Murray kind of thing. Then the age of Osiris was, the dying and rising god, taking a page from Fraser. Even though, and he said that started in 500 BC, even though these deities and these ideas came, were thousands of years older. Then he felt that the age of Horus was the age of the child. So you go away to matriarchy, then to patriarchy, then into an era of individualism. And it started in, I think he said, it was like early, was it 1908, 1906 was when he officially kind of kicked it off. And he noted that basically the World War I was kind of a birth pain of what he thought of the new Aeon, which I can kind of see that. You're sweeping away a lot of the old order, that old kind of order of the Aeon of Osiris. I said, I don't put a lot of stock in it, but that's kind of where he was coming from. And he was really taking, to understand him, you have to understand the Plymouth Brethren.
Yeah, I don't know much about the Plymouth Brethren, but and nothing of what you just described sounds like something that the ancient Egyptians believed in.
No, the Egyptians didn't have ages. Where they had the Ouroboros serpent, it just simply represented either the year, like the wheel of or like eternity, or just the cycle of the year. It wasn't like any weird, like esoteric stuff. Even their alchemy seemed to be basically metalworking. So they apparently they were able to use gold, like they would put their holy statues and cover them in gold, and they were able to like make color the gold. So they've introduced colors in the gold and stuff like that. So it had a religious function, but it wasn't like turning lead into gold or the Philosopher's Stone. Again, a lot of that stuff came later.
Have you heard of Ken Wilber?
Who?
Ken Wilber.
I have.
Yes.
I heard he's some sort of cognitive scientist, psychologist guy who developed some sort of theory of personality, I believe.
No.
Okay, so
not unless I have the wrong person.
Okay, I could be mixing up. I thought he was some sort of psychologist who created up this theory of self, and it was like the integral theory of self or something like that. But
yeah, some sort of. But he's not a psychologist. He's
okay.
He's who came up with Dianetics? L. Ron Hubbard type.
Oh.
Yeah. Kenneth Earl Wilber II, born January 31st, 1949, is an American theorist and writer on transpersonal psychology and his own integral theory, a 4-quadrant grid which purports to encompass all human knowledge and experience.
How convenient.
Very. So he apparently didn't even graduate with his bachelor's degree. And the fact people find this guy, he every time somebody brings up Blavatsky, I think of Ken Wilber. Yeah.
Well, because I mean, he seems like a fraud. Well, I don't know. I don't want to accuse people of frauds if I don't know him very much. I know very little about him. But if he doesn't have a degree and he's writing all this stuff about transpersonal psychology, I don't know how trustworthy that would be.
Well, you can come up with any weird thing like transhuman or trans whatever or quasi or integro or whatever, and add it on to psychology and then claim, cultural figures as varied as Bill Clinton, Al Gore, Deepak Chopra, Richard Rohr, and musician Billy Corgan have mentioned his influence.
Billy Corgan was the Smashing Pumpkins guy.
I have no idea who Billy Corgan is.
Yeah, Billy Corgan. He's a Smashing Pumpkins.
I also don't know who Richard Rohr is.
Me neither. Who is Richard Rohr? American Franciscan priest and writer on spirituality.
They call Wilber or whatever I saw the Hegel of Eastern religion or something. Hegel of Eastern spirituality. When you invoke Hegel, that's a red flag on me.
Well, that sounds like an insult to Hegel, because at least Hegel was like a serious philosopher.
This is a good point. This is true. Yeah, he was influenced by a bunch of people. Oh, yeah, influenced by Nagarjuna, of course. I'm not a huge fan of the, like, you don't exist and nothing exists and we're all one. Not really not really a big fan of that. Creation is differentiation.
No. It's honestly, it's so Wilbur is one of these people who supposedly has categorized all human knowledge and can. So he's got this color scheme, and the people who are really into him talk about things being very blue or very green in thought, and it's
Is
just
he the one who had the 4
I
color
believe-
types of personality?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. I've heard there's a technical term for people who associate colors with words, but I don't think that's what you're talking about.
No, it's a synesthete. You're thinking of synesthete. They see, like, they hear colors.
Like a synesthesia, you said?
Synesthesia is like where you hear colors or you smell sounds.
Yeah, synesthesia. I don't think Drake was talking about synesthesia.
Yeah, I don't think.
What is it with these guys and the Jews? What's the fixation? We are an important part of Christian and Muslim symbology since they were little kids, and like they have been raised to pay attention to Jews. Wilbur seems to introduce pluralism into the Rebel Wisdom crowd. I wouldn't say pluralism. He introduces a lot of quasi-scientific bullshit into the Rebel Wisdom crowd, as far as I'm concerned.
So I was reading or listening to the audiobook of Constantine's Sword, and the guy's the author is a little bit on the liberal side, but he's a former Catholic priest. But I think a lot of the obsession with Jews is just when you say that you're the new covenant, and the old covenant's kind of saying, "Hey, wait a minute," it tends to be very inconvenient for you. And when you're a Muslim and you're saying you're the new covenant, when the covenant before says, actually, we have that you're doing it wrong, that also kind of puts a crimp in the style, especially when you're trying to not just kind of coexist, but actually, spread it to everyone else. It gets in the way of the sales pitch. Not convenient to have someone kind of, and that's why Augustine, he said, like, the Jews should survive but not thrive. Kill everyone else, believe the Jews alone, as an example. But yet, and at the same time, of course, so the Jews had to, kind of band together and have their community, and they weren't able to, like, they were the ones who were able to do banking because Christians and Jews or Muslims were forbidden from usury. So then, of course, the Jews go, okay, we'll do banking. Hey, who knows? Banking actually makes you successful. So then you also have they're not converting, and despite our efforts, they're actually doing okay for themselves, depending on the society. So that kind of like,
well, it's not even just that. I've also read books, or one book, to be fair, on Jewish history, which said the other reason that Jews went into finance was also because they were prohibited from owning land. And so because they were prohibited from other professions, that combined with the lack of Christian ability to do interest led to them basically doing finance and becoming
so it's kind of like, you may only do these things. How dare you do well in these things? It's like maybe don't force people into one type of profession, because you never know when that profession may actually be very useful. And so I think it's just Nietzsche's ressentiment.
I don't know too much about what Nietzsche said about this, but there's a reason. I think there's a reason Jacob says Marxism is anti-Semitism for Gentiles or something like that. But it's basic. Yeah, it's resentment, and I think the thing is, another thing with anti-Semitism is, part of the factor is, yes, the anti-Semitism being caused by success, but also I think, to be honest, from my readings of the New Testament, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I've seen some things in the New Testament which are not great, and I commend Christians who love their Jewish brothers and sisters, but I've seen verses in the New Testament that are not particularly savory about the Jews.
The Catholics, Vatican II really was a sea change for Catholics, because that's when they specifically put out, what was it? It was Nostra Aetate. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the Latin, but it was basically kind of saying, hey, the Jews are not collected for killing Jesus anymore. And until then, they kind of were viewed as such, and now it's kind of like, oh, well, he was just calling out the Pharisees. So, okay, whatever works, right? But I think a lot of it is very easy. Like, you look at Candace Owens, right? Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, a lot of the people who are going anti-Semitic tend to go not just Catholic, but really pre-Vatican II Catholic, because you can't be it's hard to be a Vatican II Catholic and say the stuff that Candace Owens is saying about the Jews. You kind of have to go before where you have to say, oh, Vatican II was a mistake, so was Nostra Aetate, therefore I can still, yeah.
What does Nostra Aetate mean?
Someone, Nostra is our. I don't know what Aetate means.
I think states, but it's
It was about
it's the Catholic admission that it's possible for someone not to be part of the church, yet not good, like definitely going to hell.
Yeah. So that's good for the Catholics, I suppose, since Vatican II. I mean,
yeah, no, it's good stuff. Credit where it's due.
the main thing is, I've also heard there are some Catholics who basically think that the current Pope's not the real Pope because I believe they think that Pope Francis was some sort of faux Pope. I don't know. But I've heard there's basically Catholics who believe modern papal succession is the faux.
So the term is called sede vacante, which means empty seat. The term sede vacantes occurs when a pope dies and they're waiting to elect a new pope. The sede vacantes, though, they think so. They hate Vatican II so much. They think that, was it Pope John the 23rd, the guy who called Vatican II? He died during Vatican II. But basically, they think he was the last legitimate pope, and every pope after Vatican II, starting from Paul VI, who redid the traditional Latin Mass to make it the Novus Ordo, anyone after that they think is illegitimate. Like, they were a little quiet with Ratzinger because Ratzinger was kind of more sympathetic to them to try to bring them back to the fold, but they despise Francis. And they'll say like Paul VI was a secret Freemason. You got to have the Masonic. When Jewish conspiracies are coming on, Masonic conspiracies are soon to follow, and then it's the Judeo-Masonic conspiracy. So
I told you why I joined the Masons, right?
You joined the Masons
when I was a kid, yeah, because I never understood why anti-Semites were like, Jews run the world, therefore we should hate them, because it seemed to me like if people are ruling the world, why wouldn't you want to be a part of them? And so the other part I kept on hearing was the Masons rule the world, and I'm like, well, I mean, if they do, then I should join. So I did. They don't rule the world. I was very, very disappointed.
Yes. It's a fraternal order. It's social. It's civil society, so it's social capital. I'm actually a Mason myself.
I was a DMLA, so junior Mason.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
In my junior high school years, I went the Boy Scouts route.
I wanted to, but my dad, when we went to. My dad's like, this is more work for me than for you. I'm not doing.
Yeah. Actually, one of my friends, Josh, he was Jewish. Our dads play on the same soccer team together, and so we would kind of visit them occasionally. And we both were Eagle Scouts, and so I had him do the opening invocation at my Eagle Court of Honor. Rather than, and I did not have it at the local church like everyone else. I had it at so I was at California time, and at Knott's Berry Farm, there's a replica of Independence Hall. So I had it there because I felt, to me, it was more about America, and so I kind of that was my I had there, and I had him do the invocation. It was pretty cool. So yes, I'm a Mason. Yes, although. Most of the Masons in my area, being in Oklahoma, they're all Baptists, all good Baptists. So the religious makeup of Masonry tends to reflect the area. Like in California, at the lodge I was initiated at, it's a grab bag of all sorts of cool different philosophies and religions. But here, it's like, we're all Baptist, except
the CRC still prohibits being a Mason.
Yeah, I'm technically, so I was raised. I was born in the Catholic Church. And so technically I'm excommunicated, late sentente. Again, and sorry for butchering it, but it's kind of like an automatic de facto excommunication. Not like I care, but
Yeah, I think they undid that, but they still don't approve, and the traditionalists are very anti-Mason still. Yeah.
I mean, the really hardcore, I the really hardcore traditionalists who the ones who hate America because it was founded by a lot of Masons. I mean, not entirely, but I can at least respect how they're consistent, especially since they tend to be monarchists as well. So
So in Israel, there are Orthodox Jewish Masonic lodges.
Yep.
But
How about in America?
not really. Not in America.
Okay.
It depends on the makeup. Like if there was if there was a Jewish lodge in the middle of like Fairfax, it would probably be mostly Jewish people. So it depends on just again, it's based on more on the geography. And I think I've been told that like in Israel, like a Masonic lodge is a place where like Arabs and Israelis would be able to coexist. Yeah, and I don't, and I've actually given lectures on Egyptian symbolism to my lodge and such. So I try to spread the love.
Most people are very perennialist, etc. But when it comes down to it, as Masons, which I mean I liked way back when, but I've become less and less of a perennialist as time goes on.
The young god is saying you guys just got started me on my journey to be a Freemason. I may or may not become a Freemason. That well, obviously has nothing to do with this conversation. Okay, young god.
So go to your local lodge, find out when they meet. They usually have dinner before then. So go there, join them for dinner. Usually, someone will cover your donation for the dinner, and just chat with them, ask what's about, and then
Yeah.
they'll go to lodge and do their thing, and then so it's like just an hour of your time. You can just like be an inquirer and just kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, what's about?
I might do that, but I'm also in Picayune, Mississippi, and I don't think there is any Freemason lodge near me. There could, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's one in Mississippi, but not one in Picayune.
There are Masonic. So I have I have a rental house further north in Oklahoma, and there's a town it's about 3,000 people. They have a Masonic lodge,
Okay.
especially in old places. There pretty much used to be a Masonic lodge at every town, and obviously civil society is shrinking, so Masons are shrinking. So you might have like lodges get consolidated, but if you're like by a small town, if you're there's at least going to be at least a couple lodges in your county that even if it's just like a metal prefab building, it's going to be there. It'll be there.
Okay.
There's often buildings that aren't really being used by lodges anymore that are for like rent and stuff.
So our lodge building, we have our downtown. We have this beautiful Art Deco Masonic building that has the original lodge, which is beautiful, and we moved to a new one. So I'm trying to see if maybe we could kind of move back there. Now my lodge, so the lodge where I started was in Culver City, and it's actually by right by the Hare Krishna monastery temple thing on Culver Drive. It's beautiful. It has like a cool library, and the lodge is that I go back. I went back there last year, and it was really nice, really good book selection. But just just nice people to have a good conversation with you. And actually, one of the guys there really is into gematria and Kabbalah as well.
And how long have you been a Freemason?
I have, I mean, maybe about 5 years, 6 years. There was a gap in the middle. Over Yon God, Rotary Club and Freemason, there is none. Rotary Club and Freemasonry, like the Elks, the Odd Fellows, those are all basically fraternal orders. Fraternal orders, basically, guys get together. Maybe there's a little like initiation to kind of say, hey, you're part of the group now. You pay dues, you have dinner. And usually they would be like also traditionally like Masons would have Masonic retirement homes or hospitals. So they do philanthropy, but also kind of be but in the days before like insurance and Social Security, they would be kind of like that kind of care, mutual aid for their members in case some of them had issues or say got old and decrepit. Like if you see like the old Flintstone cartoon, when Fred and Barney, right? They go to their lodge, their thing, the Buffalo Lodge there, and they see the Grand Poobah. Because back then it would have been funny because like everyone's dad would have been a member of at least one of these orders. Yeah. So Shriners are Masonry. You join your main lodge that has 3 degrees. Then you can join like other Masonry. They're called rites. Basically, they're kind of like addendums to Masonry. They're optional. So like Shriners is one. Scottish Rite. When people say a 32nd degree Mason or a 33rd degree Mason, that's Scottish Rite. Technically, there's only one first, second, and third degree. Everything else is just kind of added onto that.
And were the Masons in Europe back in the day influential in like salon culture, so to speak?
I mean, people would move around those areas. I mean, I don't know how. It would not be surprising if they did.
In Europe, the Masons used to be a lot more politically active than even in the United States, and to some extent, like Masonic lodges in Europe, their dues are usually in the thousands of dollars a year.
I don't know why anyone would spend that kind of money for being part of that.
In America, your dues are going to be maybe like $140 a year.
Yeah. No, in Europe, it's much more of we're elite aristocracy. We have money. The riffraff need not apply type thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is particularly related to Masonic, but I've heard that in that sort of elite circles back in Europe, and I've heard that this was related to Freemasons, that a lot of this was influenced by like opera culture, but especially specifically some guy named Richard Wagner was influential for Masons, I've heard.
So Wagner is writing and composing in the 1800s, whereas Masonry, I think the first lodges are early 1700s. They're really more a product of like the Enlightenment. And your British lodges, those were probably a bit more not as elite per se. And like although Scottish and York Rite sound like they come from England, they actually are American.
Really?
They're made in America. Like Teddy Roosevelt was a 32nd degree Scottish Rite. Like Buzz Aldrin. Let's see who else was. I mean, like George Washington, Franklin, John Wayne was a Mason, and he was able to do all 3 of his initiations, like his degrees, in one day because the stuff he had to memorize, it was easy for him because he was an actor. So I can't speak too much of European Masonry. I know that Memphis Mizraim Masonry is from France, and in Italy, and I think there's some in South America. There's none in America, but that's ancient Egyptian themed. I have access to their the materials. There's not I've given presentations on hey, here's the Egyptian stuff they list. Here's where it's right. Here's where it's wrong. But it's some of it is right. Other is kind of not really. But again, they were working probably in the 1700s or 1800s, so they weren't necessarily up on what they didn't necessarily know as much then as we do now.
I see. So Wagner didn't necessarily influence the Masons, because I've heard he was connected more so to these elite circles, but I don't know if he influenced the Freemasons specifically.
So Wagner was the composer for King Ludwig of Bavaria. So the guy who built the Neuschwanstein Castle, he actually built a bunch of other castles. He was a huge German romantic. So he would pal around. So basically, he hired Wagner as kind of his personal composer. And so Wagner was really much more with the German Romanticist movement.
The Knights of Columbus really is Masonry for Catholics. Like
it is.
They basically made it so that they would have something Catholics could join.
I don't know what the Knights of Columbus are.
So my grandfather was actually Knight of Columbus, and so they dress. Actually, they dress a lot like the York Rite. So they have like the big fore and aft hats with the plumage and the swords. I said it's kind of like a fraternal order for Catholics because Catholics wouldn't be able to join any of these orders. There is also what's called the Martinists, and the Martinist order is kind of a more esoteric order. Again, the guy was a French occultist or or he was a Mason, and he wanted to make Masonry for Catholics as well. But it's much more of like a solo kind of thing. And I don't think Martinism is technically recognized by the Catholics would prefer you join the Knights of Columbus than be a Martinist. Although the Martinist ritual is kind of interesting. How often do rites get recrafted? I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, the Scottish Rite's been about the same, I think, since more or less since the early 1800s. Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. He was a Scottish Rite Mason. He wrote a lot of like his interpretation of what the rites are about. And it's various all sorts of religious things, different concepts pertain to liberty. A lot of the Masonry, the lessons of Masonry mainly pertain to ethics. Like you don't get this Gnostic insight of a divine revelation. It's just kind of like, hey, here's your initiation, your sacred drama, and at the end, it's like, hey, here's what all the symbols meant, and here's what they're supposed to teach you about being a nice person. So it's really ethical instruction.
Well, that's interesting because I've heard that monotheism is considered a requirement among some Masonic lodges, but I don't know.
So to be a Mason, you have to believe in an afterlife and a supreme being. I think because in ancient Egypt there was a supreme being creator who then made the other gods. It's more henotheistic. So I think that kind of qualifies. They call the head deity the great architect of the universe. Most pagan traditionally, even like historically, were that type where you have a head deity and then the ones under him. So I think as long as they understand that your head, you recognize that a head deity of some kind who made everything else and everyone else.
And who's the head deity for the Egyptians?
Well, it depended again on what your cult was. It was usually a solar deity, so it would be Ra. So in Heliopolis was a tomb, but in another place it was Ra. So then they would merge very easily to make Ra a tomb. In Thebes it was Amun, but since Ra was so popular, they just called him Amun Ra. In Horus in Edfu, it's Horus. Horus creates everything, and by then he was associated. So very quickly, Horus and Ra were associated with each other because they're both solar creator falcon deities. So you'd have all these basically cities with their tutelary deities, and as they came together, they start kind of finding, hey, because very similar. It's like, oh, hey, this god is very much the same like ours, or hey, this god does the same function. Let's merge them together, and they kind of established they did the sorting hat and kind of constructed the pantheon from there. But they were basically very much able to kind of recognize like all the head gods, the deities of each kind of city or pantheon. They'd all have prayers where they're equated to the others. Like there's a prayer for Horus saying, "Hail to you, your name is Ra. Hail to you, your name is Atum. Hail to you, your name is Khanum." Such and such.
I see. And so for you as a henotheist, your main god would be Ra?
Horus.
Okay.
Although, Horus of Edfu, but he was often called Horus Ra, who's Horus on two horizons. So, but all of it interchangeably. Like you'd have a prayer that's addressed to Ra, who's Horus on the horizon, and then end with Horus, the great god, Lord of Heaven. And the picture depicting the prayer would be the priest or the pharaoh facing Horus. So the understanding was that he's calling him these different names, kind of like how you might call Yahweh, you might also call him El or Elohim or Adonai or other types of titles, other names.
So we have two people who are LARPing as Egyptian cultists on the stream.
Hi, Corey.
What's good, Nate? How have you been?
Oh, just taking care of stuff, doing a lot of writing on Substack. And I got my 20-year letter from the Army. So when I retire, I can retire eventually. So I mean, I'll stick on, but I'm hit the light at the end of the tunnel. So cool.
What's maximum retirement?
So your minimum is 20 years. For Reserve and National Guard, it's based on retirement points. So it's how active you've been. Every day you serve,
right?
Huh?
You're commissioned, right?
Yeah, I'm commissioned. So you can basically stay in until you're 60. So for an officer, if you're passed over promotion twice in a rank, you have to retire.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
So far I've made the cut. But at the end, once you are 60 years old, you're mandatory removed. If you're like a general, they may extend that for a couple years, but I can go for like until I'm 60. But Oklahoma just passed a law where if you serve 25 years and you are in the Guard, not necessarily all 25 of those, just as you're retired out of the Guard, they will pay your pension until the federal government takes over. Because the federal government won't pay your pension as a reservist or guardsman until you're 60 as well. So you don't, like, if you're active duty, as soon as once you serve at least 20 years, as soon as you retire, you immediately collect the pension. Reserve and guard, you have to kind of wait until you're 60. Although if you've deployed, they kind of walk that back. So I could actually, in 5 years, start collecting the pension. But the longer I serve, the more money I'll get each month. So I'll stick around till they kick me out. It's fun.
I see, said the blind man. Clear as mud.
The best part is that when you're retired, you get to keep your rank. So y'all can call me Colonel Mustard.
You're a colonel?
No. I'm a major. I think I can make lieutenant colonel by the time I retire, which then can be shortened to colonel. You can call me
just like the guy in 18.
So I think he was a full bird. I'm not sure.
No,
He was light.
I remember. Yeah, that's how I learned that people called people who are lieutenant colonels.
So I think was it Anthony Hopkins' character in Legends of the Fall was the colonel, and Colonel Campbell from Metal Gear Solid. But yeah, although Colonel Campbell's based on the colonel in Rambo. Yes.
I pity the fool.
Good old Mr. T. Snake. Yes. So yeah, the new Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta came out. I guess people are complaining about its performance. I don't know.
I would be very, very surprised if Grail Country had any Masons.
Yeah. Grail Country aren't they Orthodox Christians?
Many of them are, yes.
I don't. In my Orthodox Christians, they don't seem like the types to harbor many Freemasons.
Orthodox Christians generally have the same attitude towards Freemasons as Catholics do.
Yeah, but funny enough, I mean, one of the things on Grail Country is they do tarot stuff and they do all kinds of weird, like, I wouldn't have tarot as a series on my channel.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
And yet you're entertaining a pagan up here. I mean,
It's just chatting. It's not like
I don't even do tarot.
well,
Yeah.
Speaking of just chatting,
yeah.
Temple,
Yeah.
have you? No, man, I was gonna make fun of you.
Okay, well, wham. So I honestly don't. I have a deck. I have a tarot deck. I don't use tarot because the tarot decks came from playing cards from I think Italy and France, and they eventually became like, for divination, just like any other randomized anything that you can randomize and attach symbolism to can become a divination tool. Because like I said in the chat or in Jacob's chat, I don't think there's anything necessarily magic about divination. You're randomized brainstorming. So you assign archetypal symbols or concepts to some sort of randomizer. You apply it to your problem, and it basically forces you to examine the issue from an angle you might not have thought of. So that's kind of how I think it actually kind of works in practice.
You're much more of a rationalist than I am.
Yeah, and well, I was actually going to ask you, Temple, if so do you utilize Ouija boards personally?
No. Ouija boards are a parlor trick from the late 1800s, and in fact, studies have shown that when you blindfold people, the Ouija board doesn't work. So Egyptian divination, when it happened, would usually just come in dreams. Like they would do a lot of dream work, so kind of good Jungians. You could even actually pay a donation and sleep in a temple to have kind of like a kind of sleep there and hope that you get a dream. And they were always just individualized, kind of like things. So you might have dream journals or dream interpretations, but I generally sleep too soundly to remember my dreams. So I didn't put any character slots into the divination aspect of my magic.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that Carl Jung studied the occult, but I didn't hear if he specifically got this idea of dream divination from the Egyptians. But I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, dreams have always been a way in which people, I think, can access the numinous. Just when you go to bed and you especially if you're imagining deceased relatives, you imagine your deities, you imagine symbolism. I think it's kind of one of those. I think it's one of those things that all humans have kind of arrived at independently. So, I've had some cool dreams, but one of our members, he's a big dreamer guy. He has a lot of dreams, but he also has a lot of difficulty sleeping because, again, he doesn't sleep soundly enough to forget his dreams. I've actually.
Go ahead.
I've also heard that someone told me that if you were able to lucid dream, you also tend to be more prone, say, to night terrors, because night terrors occur when, like, basically the part of you is awake and aware, but the body movement part of you fell asleep, so you feel kind of trapped. And night terrors also sometimes have often across the world been accompanied by the image of the black figure, sitting on your chest, which could be, again, kind of like you're visualizing that you're panicking, so you're breathing heavily, so it feels that something's pressing on your chest. Again, nothing I've had the pleasure or displeasure of experiencing. Perhaps that might be a good thing.
Yeah, and Young got saying is in the chat, bro. If I were a kid at school and they told me that an adult Armea guys would be part of a modern Egyptian religion, I would have said, "Yo, you were crazy, yo." And I agree with him. And I'm curious, if I may, when did you become some pagan, and whenever you became, why did you decide to become a pagan?
So I have custom dog tags, and the term ancient Egypt actually fits perfectly within it as in the religion line, because the bottom line of your dog tags is your religion. And rather than doing other rel pref, I actually I put ancient Egypt. That way the chaplain can know kind of like what you need.
Wow, chaplains in the army actually would know what that means.
Yes, I've had there's actually a lot of Asatru and like Norse types in the army. People joke that's so they can have grow their beards out. But I even before they relaxed grooming standards, I knew, like, one of the guys I went to basic training with was Norse. They allowed him to keep the Eddas, the poetic Eddas, in his locker as religious material. It's probably like the whole like warrior kind of combat thing, the proud warrior guys. So it kind of attracts them.
And how? And
but
how
I've
long?
actually, one of our chaplains was he was a Thai Buddhist. So chaplains are trained to minister to everyone of religion, and a lot of them I've had, like, when they pray, they'll say, "I will pray in my religion, in my tradition, but you may pray with me along in yours." So understanding that it is a pluralist thing. And yeah, like the Thai Buddhist guy would totally do like mantras and Buddhist prayers before we went off on like a hike and stuff. So
you should become a chaplain.
there are not. So to be a chaplain, you have to have a theology degree, which there's no ancient Egyptian theology degree. And there actually has to be enough members of that religion. So it's a portion. Like, there might be enough for like a Wiccan chaplain and maybe a Norse chaplain, but there's not enough for Egyptian chaplain yet.
Well,
So as to when I joined it, I've always, I always loved liturgy as a Catholic. And once my mom said, once you get confirmed, you don't have to go to church again. I'm like, appreciate it. So under God, Yon God was added in the 50s, but it's been upheld by the Supreme Court because refers to a very just kind of generic, it's generic enough. So, like, for example, the Egyptians would refer to Netcher as their term for God. So in their wisdom literature, they would say, like, do not steal, Netcher abhors it. like so a god abhors it. So it's kind of the idea that it was kind of like whatever god you prefer, because they didn't, or or my god or your god abhors it. So even then, the idea of God could be generic enough. No, I just started seeking when I was in college, and I read up on lots of stuff. Went to Buddhist monasteries. I've read giant books about like Confucian and Taoist philosophy, Buddhist Bushido literature. Studied Kabbalah at Shabbat place. Just all sorts of things, and just kind of I don't know. I happened on Egypt when I loved reading the prayers. It was quite beautiful, inspiring. It's kind of like I like the theology, so it's kind of it's a thing that like it in Hollywood Squares it got the square. Circle gets the square. So
Yeah, so you've been it since college?
I might be dating myself for this, but I've been at it for quite some time. Probably actually yeah, since actually I would say I pulled the trigger and became officially Egyptian by identification. Yeah, about the time of probably the time at the end of college, between college and shipping off to basic training.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how you could go to Chabad and learn Kabbalah when most people who learn about Kabbalah who are into pagan stuff would go to some Hermetic Kabbalah Crowley bullshit.
Well, that's kind of why I wanted to learn it, is because I wanted to read about it. I'm like, hey, what is it from the Jewish perspective? Not the imposed, Christianized, Hermetic size Kabbalah, but what is it really from the source? And it was very eye opening. Kind of also made me like,
Do you want Jacob back in Chains Temple?
No, you are all free to be migrant. You're all free to be free migrant laborers coming back and forth and staying in Elephantine, which actually was a thing. It's fine.
Have you heard of the whole Hebrew Apiru thing? You know what I'm talking about?
So Hapiru or Abiru were kind of a term. It was more of a term given to like desert nomads, kind of raiders. I don't think it, because they would have called so back. It was that my thing is that they were the Israelites, like the rest of the Canaanites, were migrant laborers going back and forth, between the two. I don't think the Abiru. I think it's kind of that linguistic kind of coincidence. I think Abiru probably refer more to probably like desert dwellers, or kind of a general term for it. Wasn't necessarily attached to an ethnicity. So
Matthew, so you've talked about your graduate degree. You've talked about being at Liberty University. I want to hear your life story. Like, I have no idea what. And you've talked about having a large family. Have you ever done like a randos conversation with anyone where you've actually told your story?
I've only seen Matt on the Bible study streams. I haven't seen him on the Just Chatting stream, so.
Yeah, he goes on the Bible study stream, so it's like, and I saw him on Vervaeke's stream, so
Yeah,
I guess he just doesn't like me.
No, maybe, I don't know. I would like to sit down and talk to Matt because I've only seen him talk in the Bible stream. Hebrew has interesting definitions in Greek. I don't know what that means.
I
How's the
want
trip?
the seats.
Kagan, how's the trip?
Exhausting. The wedding was nice. I should show pictures of the wedding. I have pictures of the wedding somewhere. Where's my pictures of the wedding?
So where do you go for the trip?
I went to Colorado and then to Colorado, and then I went to Boise, and then I came back.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw you were chatting in the Bible study stream, but I thought you were really busy on this trip.
I was.
Jason looks so cute with his wife, and
Yep.
I love this man.
Me too. And there's another picture. So the priest there, he was a missionary with Jess, like Baptist missionary way back when, and now he's a Eastern Orthodox priest.
And I presume you think that's an improvement?
I mean, monarchical trinity over whatchamacallit, that seems better to me. Over the egalitarian trinity, sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, although I've seen many people who identify as Orthodox Christians, and to be fair, I think this is probably an online thing who say not great things about the Jews.
There's all kinds of people who say not great things about the Jews.
Even not evangelicals in America. Evangelicals in America love the Jews.
Well, that's because the Jews are part of their end of the world scheme. It's very mercenary.
It also depends which evangelicals. There's plenty of them who have not good things to say about the Jews.
Well, Israel is necessary for their. I mean, the evangelicals are, especially the
dispensationalists. That's the dispensationalists. Yeah, and dispensationalists are not even a plurality of evangelicals.
But they need Israel for their end of the world scenario. So, but they also like to go to Israel and try to convert them to Jesus before the end of the world comes about.
Some of them depends.
Yeah. Also, noticing the low church Protestant to Orthodox pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, to be fair, there are. I mean, they're not a significant number to my understanding, but there are dual covenant Protestants. There are dual covenant Christians. So, like, even though they're not significant, if we are going to talk about like evangelicals wanting to convert Jews, like, I mean, I know it's an overused meme, but like hashtag not all.
2 Christians, 3 opinions. In fact, you can probably say that for any religion.
Well, two Protestants and 2,000 opinions. So
and 2 Jews, how many opinions?
Depends on the Jews.
So I actually heard the original way I heard that was from a Jewish guy saying 2 Jews, 3 opinions.
That is that is.
But I think I found that can be useful for many religions, especially on the internets.
Well, the main thing that I've heard with regards to the origin of that idea in Judaism is that in the Talmud there are multiple rabbinic opinions, and so, but for that it would probably be more like 2 Jews, like 4 or 5 opinions, because there's the original opinion, couple of opinions in Mishnah, and then there's a whole thing in the Talmud and Gemara.
It's a good observation, Skankenstein. Dispensationalism in the Cold War. Yeah, I mean, when I would recreationally watch a Trinity Broadcasting Network, you'd have Jack Van Impe Ministries and their international intelligence briefing, and they basically was how are they going to shoehorn geopolitics into the end of the world this week? You know, everything was always, you know, here's the new sign. Which, of course, since the Middle East is a never-ending party, they had fertile soil.
Andrew, what are you doing?
I should be eating.
Why should you be?
I've got a plate right next to me.
Are you one of those people who where it's like 8 p.m. and you're like, oh man, I haven't eaten all day?
No, I'm working night shift, so it's kind of.
We're about.
Yeah.
What's on that plate?
I've got rice and short ribs.
2 short.
Yeah.
Yum.
Yes, sir. I've been losing weight, so I got.
I've been losing some weight as well.
Are they barbecue short ribs? Are they red cooked short ribs?
They're Korean short ribs.
Oh, yum.
Yeah.
Are you Korean, Andrew?
No.
He's culturally appropriating.
Hey man, I'll put away a whole jar of kimchi.
It's delicious.
That's interesting. for what Shankenstein's saying in the chat.
Oh yeah, dude, John Hagee basically was starring. I remember John Hagee was like assigning countries based on if the first letter of their English spelling was the same as the first letters their like the nations in like Revelation. So like there was a nation called G, started with G, and he said that's Germany. You know, and there was one that started with R. It's like that's Russia, just because of the on the first letter similarity alone. I'm like Germans call themselves Deutschland, but okay. Well, especially with the Cold War, there was I think like if there was like eagle imagery, bear imagery, like dragon imagery, like you could assign that to any country. Like it's the symbolism can get you without sufficient guardrails. Symbolism can get you into crazy town, especially if you want the world to end.
Is this Jacob thing about symbolism why you don't like Jonathan Peugeot much anymore, or why you don't watch him anymore?
I never watched them. I always. I mean, it's funny. It's the one thing Yosef and I very much agree on, which is from a Jewish standpoint, Jonathan Peugeot's universal symbolism is anything but universal.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think he just goes like I was briefing on a server, and there was like this whole there was people agonizing for hours about like why like the prohibition against like eating like a split hoofed animal or something like that, and they were talking about how like the split hoof represents like a separation, and they were going to all these weeds, and I'm like guys, if like you actually like asked like Jews about it, or like or hey, maybe it's just dietary restrictions for hygiene at the time, and like no, it was too simple, it can't be it. Like they had to like go the most convoluted way, and meanwhile like Occam's razor my sword plus my magic sword plus one I called Occam's razor was just vibrating like Sting in my on my going, oh man, like guys, keep it simple or just ask the Jews. No, like everything had to have every little bit. It's like maybe you're taking this a little too far. So Peugeot is a guy who doesn't have like the guardrails maybe need to kind of be popped up a little bit. Otherwise you go into the gutter ball. Isn't symbols bad Hebrew?
What is Andrew laughing at?
Nothing. Don't worry. Don't worry. All right.
We're very, very worried, Andrew.
You're very, very worried.
Yes.
Life is honestly like somewhat settling down for me, which I'm very glad for.
Except for my hair. My hair is not settling down.
Oh, I thought that was supposed to be like your variation of the Zoomer haircut.
I don't know. I've stopped caring about my hair. It's too much work.
Shave it.
Yeah, become bald. Right.
Or just slick it back. Get a little Vaseline, a little Brill cream.
Nah.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like you need at least in a little bit. You need a haircut, but you do you. Has life been settling down for you, Jacob?
Say that again.
Has life been settling down for you?
No, not really.
Okay, because I asked because it seems like you've been a little stressed out recently with the trip.
Life's been busy. Life has been busy.
Is this Gavin Newsom hair? Don McBee saying no Gavin Newsom hair. I've never seen I've never paid much attention to Gavin Newsom's hair.
Oh, it's like coiffed and slicked and looks like plastic.
Yeah, I don't understand how that guy. I mean, he thinks he's doing the Trump thing, and apparently his fans think he's doing the Trump thing, but he's not doing the Trump thing.
Gavin Newsom is the Goodwill version. No, I mean, yeah, dollar store version, thrift store version of Trump.
Timo Trump, maybe.
Yeah, but he's not Trump.
Nah, yeah. Dollar General is like over on these parts. Yeah, Timu. But Andrew, what do you do for work? You said night shift. Are you doing security?
Apprentice electrician.
Oh, that's cool. No, that's actually awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
No, you trust me. Like electrician. Whenever I have to call an electrician and a plumber, especially a plumber, I'm always like, oh man, what's the bill going to be? Thankfully, I have home warranty, but so
Home warranties are a total scam.
no, I every year the savings I have exceed the premiums because especially because I have I have an in-ground pool, so they knocked off like $500 on my booster pump repair.
Okay, so home warranties are they're basically, well, they're what's called service plans in the insurance industry, which is basically you prepay. So dental insurance is mostly a service plan, which is you pay a little bit and then the service provider provides you with minimal service, and they are willing to do that because they then get the business from any bigger business that you have, right? So it's not a complete scam, and it might even end up working for you, but ultimately it's an advertisement thing. It's not a form of insurance.
No, I understand. So, especially for my rental, I was I was able to use it to get a steep discount on replacing the downstairs furnace and the entire AC system. Like every year for each house, I catch myself saying, "Whew, good thing I have home warranty," or "Whew, that covered the home warranty premium." So it does kind of, at least in my specific situation, it seems to work out.
Yeah, I mean, service plans usually do work out, but they work out if you find yourself a good service provider, especially. So this is the thing with home warranties is you don't know what kind of service you're going to need, right?
Right.
And like, so they find people who are capable of doing all of the things that you need in your home, and they basically apportion it out. Yeah, I mean, look, if we had more people who were skilled in providing the services like tradecraft that we need, there wouldn't be service plans.
Right. No, I get, so I'm like, because of my restoration work that I did, like I can generally do painting, carpentry, flooring. Like I can do a lot of like surface stuff. Like if it's like I can also do PVC. I can do our like any PVC plumbing, but most of our PVC plumbing is like in the pool or like our waterfalls or like our hot tubs. So I've been able to do that, and I can also do PEX and like electrical stuff. I can do like outlets and switches. Anything like more esoteric, like digging in, if it involves digging into walls and cutting galvanized steel, or like I can change breakers, but if it involves like changing wiring, that's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, this is beyond my skill set. But my first intuition is, can I do this myself? For the rental, it's also like, is it worth it for me to spend all like the entire tank of gas to go there and back and the food I'm going to eat? Because now I have a handyman up there who is very, very reasonable in his hourly rate. So if I buy the materials anyway, but so it's basically paying him for labor at this point is usually easier on time, wear and tear on the car and gas, than me actually going up to the rental myself to do it. But I've done it before. But I have done repairs on the rental as well. Like especially like cutting down like fallen branches. Like there was a high winds recently, and so all these branches came down. I had to carve them up. But oftentimes, if the job is like too much, like if it's a multi-day job, then I have to get like hotels stay and such. So then it starts racking up. So it's like, hey, the guy's like, the guy's like 17 an hour. It's like that's a steal, you know. So I'll just
Wow, 17 an hour is like minimum wage around here.
Well, this is a small town in Oklahoma of 3,000 people. So chipping him a few hundred, that really helps, him, helps the local economy. Like I'm actually pretty well, I'm not gonna say well known in the town, but the town, when I come back to town, they recognize me and they because like I in fixing up the house, it's a well-known house. It's kind of it's famous in the town, but they like how it increased everyone's property values. It turned from a a rundown place into a not too bad looking place. So
Nice.
yeah, like I do all the honeydew lists, but pretty much like and I think most of in my house, most of the pipe. So the piping in the rental is all PEX. Here in this, it's a mix of PEX, copper, and the older stuff in the older part of the house is galvanized. And it's been failing. Again, the home warranties really helped me because I think in 1 year I had like 3 different pipes, split, all the old galvanized. So most of the galvanized has been replaced now by PEX or PVC, which again I can do. But like there was this pipe, it was the sewer pipe, and it was a 4-inch galvanized steel pipe. I'm like, I have no tools I'm not going to even try to bother to cut that thing out. So
yeah, tools is a big thing, and knowing how to use the tools is a big thing.
I recently got I upgraded my reciprocating saw to like a 12 amp because the 6 amp one wasn't doing it with carving up all the branches that fell. Because like it wasn't just some small branches you can snap in half. These were they were getting to 6-inch wide, like the big stuff, and the 3-inch or the 6 amp one wasn't cutting it. So I got a 12 amp, and it was a Bosch, and it came with its own carrying case. And let me tell you that there was something satisfying about just having that thing just cut right through the like a 6 or 8-inch, or even a 12-inch trunk with like butter, and it's just so satisfying. It's like
Where in Oklahoma do you have so many trees?
So it depends. So in the eastern part of Oklahoma, again the Ozarks, but you just have people just planted trees. So in my house in the front, there's 2 giant oaks, and recently one of the oaks just dropped a bunch of its branches on the north side where it wasn't getting any foliage, but a giant, really thick branch fell, then hit the other one. So it got all over into the street. So we had to kind of drag them out and stuff. Yeah, just people plant stuff. People like to plant oak trees. You actually get a lot of native trees, a lot of vegetation, as you go further east. So eastern Oklahoma, you get into the eastern Oklahoma is like your Ozarks, and you'll have a lot of trees. As you get more west, you get more where it's like prairie. So I'm kind of in the middle. I'm kind of half zone.
When I was in Oklahoma, Grim Grizz took me to this place that's supposedly famous for burgers, and I forget what the name was, but it was quite a bit of a drive from him. But
is it a local place, like a local haunt?
Yeah, it's I forget what its name was, but the problem was, I wanted to get the steak, but they were all out. So
was it Swadley's? Swadley's is more of a barbecue place, though.
No. Let me see if I can.
We have Swadley's. There's also a place called Van's Pig Stand, but again, that's more like barbecue. But really, yeah.
Don't remember where we went. Uh, trying to see if I can find it online.
What city was it in?
I don't want to dox.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Then you probably don't. If it's a local haunt, you probably don't want to tell me the title because that could if it's
Well,
if it's one of a kind.
it was like 45-minute drive away
Oh, okay.
from him, so I'm thinking it was far enough, but like that I wouldn't be doxing him, but I also like I'm trying to because we ended up driving out of the city
Hmm.
for a while.
It would have to be if it was a decent sized city, it would have to be one of a kind. Otherwise, there would be a if it was a chain, they'd have a location in.
No, it definitely wasn't the chain. Yeah, it definitely wasn't the chain. Yeah.
Well, I'm always on the lookout for good local spots. Yeah, so we have Vans. There's a lot of Vans pick stands, Swadleys. There's like a nice little in the rental where the rental place is. There's a little. It's just a local cafe, and there's like a price fixed gourmet restaurant that has one seating on Friday and one seating on Saturday. And like you wouldn't think of this tiny town that there's like a nice like gourmet, exclusive seating club, but it is, and it's delicious.
I don't think I've ever been to a price fixed restaurant.
This one's good. It has it's like $45. It's 5 courses. It's a really great deal.
$45 is for yeah.
And you can get one, and most of their wines are like under 10 a glass. Heck, even their cocktails are under 10. Whenever people visit me, family or friends, I always say, "Hey, let's go to this place," and they're never
Have you ever been to Pico de Fogo de Chao?
Yes, the Brazilian place.
Yeah.
I think there was one in Vegas when I used to live there.
It's expensive, but it's worth it.
Well, endless meat on swords.
Yeah.
I've been to Brazilian places where they have frog legs and alligator.
Ooh.
So amphibians and reptiles have the consistency of chicken, but they taste like fish.
Is that good or bad?
I liked it. So
I don't know if I've had crocodile or alligator. I think it was alligator, but I've had alligator and I remember it tasting like chicken.
So alligators are American, crocodiles are like Egypt. So like Nile crocodile.
Okay.
And I think alligators tend to be more broad, like their heads are broader and more robust. Nile crocodiles are a little more slender in their heads.
And do alligators taste like chicken in your experience?
Yes.
Okay.
They had more of a fishy taste, but it had the consistency of like white meat chicken in terms of like the striations and the texture. Same thing with frog legs. I have not had insects, in case you're wondering. I've not eaten chocolate-covered ants or grasshoppers.
Yeah, Trey had a John the Baptist themed birthday party,
That sounds awesome. I don't know why. That just sounds awesome.
and he got it wasn't chocolate covered grasshoppers. It was like spiced grasshoppers. It was I forget. Wait, did you come? You didn't come, did you, Andrew?
I
Were
did.
there?
Yeah, I was there.
What kind of grasshoppers was it? I didn't have any.
It was definitely spiced. It was like dried, spiced grasshoppers. And I didn't take any in either.
Well,
Did you all wear like potato sacks?
So he tried having this, like, he got us, like, do I have a picture somewhere? I must have.
He got us beards and whatnot.
Yeah.
Once he pulled out the grasshoppers, I immediately supported the honey cake conclusion. But
I mean, what's interesting is I've heard there's actually a species of grasshoppers which I believe some Jews, especially Yemenites, have a Masorah for, and I don't know what grasshoppers are considered kosher for you, Jacob, or not.
Yes, only Yemenites have a Masorah, and many rabbis allow you, if you go to a home of someone who has a Masorah, you can eat it at their home.
Okay, but you can't just a Jew just go to something and say, "Oh, Yemenite said this is kosher." Okay.
Of course, the big problem still remains turkey, and almost everybody eats turkey.
Turkey's not
dun, dun,
allowed.
dun.
Well, the problem with turkey is that it is a New World bird, and with kosher birds, the birds you are not allowed to eat are listed in the Bible. So, like,
Oh,
yeah, how are you supposed to know which bird, like,
what do you
so-
default to?
exactly. And so the fact is, almost everybody does eat birds, but for hundreds of years, there was a huge to do over whether or not you can eat turkey is kosher. And many rabbis tried quite unsuccessfully to get people to stop eating turkey.
I once went to a Christmas party, actually at the priestess of Hathor who taught me Egyptian priesthood. She had a Roman themed bacchanalia, and we all wore togas. She had people come around serving wine. We all laid on couches, and she used to do catering. So she did all the reconstructed Roman recipes from the Apicus, and every table had an amphora of garum fish sauce, and she made spelt bread. And
What's an amphora?
like the little Greek jar, the little jar with the two handles, the high shouldered jar with like the two handles on your side. It's called an amphora.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we all had garum fish sauce, spelt bread, like all the classic Rome, like all the Roman food she could make. And we did like the rituals. She did the mola salsa, so like the wheat with salt and stuff. So like she had like a labyrinth where we met like a minotaur. Like it was actually like really cool. It was a gigantic production. It was I always like going to parties at her place because she was tremendous food, lots of wine, usually themed. So
Out of curiosity, Jacob, if this is something you'd know about, would it be kosher for a Noahide to attend such a party, assuming they have no religious intention behind it?
Depends if it's an orgy or not.
there was no orgies. She was actually happily married.
Okay, so no orgies, then fine. Because
No orgies. Yeah, definitely no orgies. I mean, look, it doesn't sound like the most kosher environment in the world, but like, who am I to say?
I mean, everyone there was probably very sympathetic to like, oh yeah, we'll say a prayer to the Roman gods. It's totally cool. So
oh yeah, then I don't know if I would be comfortable attending that. If they're saying, well, if I step aside, I'd ask a local Orthodox rabbi.
So when I hold like parties and salons, I try to separate the worlds. So like our temple is a separate building in the back. It's actually the old pool house. So, and then we might have like the feast inside, but it's like you don't have to enter the temple if you don't want to. And I've had like pool parties, and I've had dinner parties where there, it's that is separate from religious function. Where like if people want to see the temple, they can, but the most I'll get is saying a prayer. If I have to say grace, I do it Egyptian style or something, but it's not required. So I'm more than happy to have people over in a perfectly secular context.
But like, wouldn't ancient like adherents be like, dude, where's the bacchanal here?
So the Bacchus would have the crazy. Everyone gets lots of drinking and such. What's interesting is that when the Greeks took the cults of Isis and Osiris and made them into mystery religions. They were associated with like before you went to an Isis mystery or temple, like to mysteries of Isis, you had to actually abstain from wine and sex for several days. So it was very much the opposite. So like a cult of like the mysteries of Isis, the mysteries of Osiris would be very different than the mysteries of Bacchus. And a lot of what we get is, the crazy stuff is from 1950s and 60s Technicolor epics, or just like, or someone writing bad about, usually like some crazy Caesar. Generally, if I went to like a Roman domus or Roman villa, like there wouldn't be like massive, like people wouldn't be like eating until they vomit and then like having orgies in the vomit. Like that wouldn't be a thing.
But vomitoriums were a thing.
Yes, the large exit doors of stadiums. So I assure you, there is no vomiting in my house unless someone drinks too much. But we try to avoid that. In fact, there were actually temple groups in later Egypt. They were like temple associations. Actually, they had their own bylaws and secretaries and treasurers. In fact, they might have actually been the original fraternal orders. In fact, one of the terms for them was synagogues.
Well, synagogue just means a place people meet.
Right. And so that was done in the context of Egyptian like adherents, coming together, and they would usually pool money for funeral costs. So if one of their members died, they'd chip in so they could be embalmed. But they would do festivals, and they would meet for the weekly festival. But their rule was no more than 3 drinks of wine. Otherwise, you get crazy. So they had a three drink maximum, which seems like okay, that's fair. In fact, same thing with the Greek. That probably goes back to the Greek Symposium, where you'd have 3 drinks. You'd have you'd offer one a little one, I think, to Zeus, then one to your daimon. And you basically had 3 different offerings, but it was basically functioning. Yeah, you'd still have 3 helix of wine max, because anything else, then you get too crazy, and then you stop talking about philosophy. You started having orgies or something. So if I have a symposium of friends and they're drinking, I kind of do a 3 drink maximum. But generally, like with estuaries, I make loose leaf tea, and I have some really good blends. And so one of the members, his sister brings a big like meat and cheese and cracker platter. So that's kind of cool.
You didn't go to Midwest area, did you?
No. I'm allergic to Chicago, and I think I was busy. Then. But we recently had a bunch of Oklahoma City people approach us, and so we're going to try and have it alternate between my house and somewhere in Oklahoma City. We went to this cool like coffee and dessert bar, but it was a little pricey. But it was really cool. But we're trying to find a good place where it's like inexpensive and they'll let us hang out for like 3 hours and not bug us.
Jess is from Oklahoma, right?
Who?
Jess, the guy, Jess P, the guy who does the Job stuff.
Oh, I'm not familiar with him.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, and Kansas City's that's a little that's kind of far north. But actually, someone suggested an IHOP, because if we meet there after the dinner rush and no one's there, we can probably just, if we all order food and tip well, we can probably just go to like a big booth in the back and just get left alone. Like an all-night diner where it's like, because we get some really. In fact, one of the members of Corinth, he and I, we've actually scheduled where we're going to have a monthly one-on-one, because we like to talk really deep stuff, and everyone else kind of like, we don't want to bore everyone else. Like we'll talk like idealism and the ground of being and other, Platonism and everything, and the others are much more into like practical stuff, which is good. So.
I see, said the blind man, clear as mud.
What was that, Jacob?
I see, said the blind man, clear as mud.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Dude, I'm going nuts. My back is like killing me.
Why is your back killing you?
Work. That's how it is.
Is it just on my end, or is Andrew's mic also kind of loud on your end, Jacob?
Yep.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe it's just a thing. For some reason, I heard you a lot.
When you leave your mic live and you don't say anything, StreamYard just keeps on pumping up the sound, trying to catch sound. So every time you put your spoon down, we hear a large clank.
Please mute and unmute Andrew. That would be appreciated. Whenever someone else laughs, I have. You know, Jacob, have you did you go to
Nope.
synagogue this week?
Nope. I'm morally opposed to synagogues.
One of these. Well, you're gonna go. You're definitely. You have to go to synagogue for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You
Do
can't.
I?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure like 90% of American Jews go to synagogue on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Do I seem like 90% of American Jews?
Well, no, but
What indication have you gotten that I am like other Jews?
yeah, you make a fair point. But will you go to synagogue this Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur?
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay. Because
I have gone to synagogue before. It has
well,
happened.
I know, but I've heard that basically the benchmark of being part of an active Jewish community, especially for an Orthodox Jew like yourself, is the high holidays.
No. The benchmark of being an Orthodox Jew has nothing to do with the high holidays.
Okay, I've heard that basically if people who go to high holidays, they're considered at least part of the Jewish community.
Maybe. Matt, who, Joe and John told you about me? What did they tell you? It's all lies, I tell you. All lies.
Who's the road trip boys?
I'm guessing John and Joe. That is my guess.
I wonder if Yoav is still in the chat. Yoav, if you're there,
Well,
I
what
would-
time is it? It's like 4 a.m. in Israel right now?
4 a.m.
5 a.m.? 6 a.m.?
Okay, I don't know. I would like, given how non-Jewish the stream has been, I would like a few more Jews on.
How dare you? You're such a racist.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. It's not my fault.
Here's a Jewish cat.
It's a beautiful cat. What's his name? Or her name?
Her name is Shadow
Shadow.
of Death.
Shadow of Death. Like the Valley of the Shadow of Death?
Well, that's the Valley of the Shadow of Death. Get it? Get it?
Ah.
Yeah. See? This is Shadow of Death, and that's the Valley of the Shadow of Death.
Oh, I see. A little cat bowl.
Yes. That's her valley.
Our feral, the not really feral cat is sitting closer to me now. I find if I sit on the sectional in the parlor, yes, I call it the parlor, she'll like sit on the top of the couch, and she'll get pretty close. She's gotten closer than she ever has since she has been for like a long, like extended period of time. Not like sniff you and go away, but like actually like just chill out and hang out by you. So
I've
happy.
had Shadow since she was 4 months old, so she's
Aw.
she's pretty tame. She does bully the dogs, though.
As cats will do that.
Yes.
Our tuxedo. Yeah, our tuxedo. Nick's had him since he was like almost for like a couple years, and he'll just let you like pet all parts of his head and rub his belly, and he's like delightful. The now grown kitten, who was the foster kitten that we kept of the feral cat, he's nice. He'll hang out with you, but he's still on the move. Like if you pet him, if you try and pet him and stuff, and he'll want to play and everything and kind of run around.
I make a habit of actually trimming Shadow's claws on stream because it's just a convenient time to do it, and oftentimes people are very surprised that she's this calm while I'm clipping her claws.
Yeah, I mean, I've played with cats and I've gotten scratched a few times, and that's why part of why I'm more of a dog person.
I am definitely more of a dog person. I got a cat because I wanted to know what it's like, and partially because really Happy needed a companion because when I'm not home, she was getting very anxious. But now I've become a lot more of a. I mean, Shadow, honestly, is the most canine cat I have ever met. And so, I don't know. I definitely. Things worked out with Shadow a lot better than I imagined.
When did you get Shadow?
It was before Chino, so it's been like 2 years now.
Yeah. I mean, she's cute. I don't hate cats. I'm not like a dog partisan, but in my experience, dogs can be more lovable. Although the only thing is that the cats are less. Um, I mean, if you have a bigger dog, they're gonna be more aggressive than a cat. But like, it depends. Some people.
No,
I mean,
the
I'm.
bigger the dog, the less aggressive they are.
Oh, that's interesting
Yeah.
because I used to have an English bulldog, and he was, or some form of bulldog, and he was pretty aggressive.
It depends on the breed and their individual temperament and how they're brought up. I find cats are just fun, low maintenance. They can be pretty affectionate and just kind of even if they're not like cuddling you and purring, like this feral, like I said, the feral mommy cat, like she'll like I'll walk in and she'll roll on her back in front of me, and she'll kind of hang out, like a foot away from me, and that to her is showing, hey, we're cool, I like you, and she'll kind of meow at me a little bit, but she only lets her kitten. Only her kitten right now that's the one she allows to touch her. It because she was feral, so she never had human touch. So it's going to be something that she's going to have to really get used to. Like I can pet her tail, and she's kind of gives me this look of like what are you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, but
Also, Jacob, I took up your suggestion, and I have started seeing a therapist.
nice.
Um, so I originally saw an OCD therapist. My mom wanted me to see an OCD therapist, and then when I described my symptoms to her, she said I probably have autism or Asperger's and not OCD. But maybe I'll see. But she also said, even though she thinks I have autism or Asperger's and not OCD, to see some sort of behavioral analyst. So we'll see where we're going here. But I did take up your suggestion.
Nice.
I've secured some distributed cognition with regards to that, and yeah. He also says he's at work, so keeping the hive mind. I don't know what hive mind you're referring to, but if you're referring to a Jewish hive mind, that's
By hive mind, I think he means staying in the chat.
okay. Okay.
Gnarly, I'm so fascinated by your setup. Whose setup? Herb?
Yeah. It won't let me post for some reason. It failed to post. I was gonna give my Substack.
Oh, yeah, you have to, StreamYard's not going to let you do it.
Like a link. Got it. No, it's just
Well-
go to horaceontheprairie.substack.com and that's it.
Well, I think if you remove, I wonder if you remove the dot before the com and then put a space in between.
It's kind of hard, and I didn't have you as a moderator. Here, if you do it on YouTube, now that I made you a moderator, you should be able to post a link.
Ah, there we are.
There you go.
Horseontheprairie.substack.com. Don McD saying, Jacob, give us your assessment of Dennis.
I would rather speak to her individually. What I can do is read the comments that I left on her thing from 2 days ago. This is what I wrote. If I can find what I wrote. Where is it? I wrote, hi Denise, the shooting in Minneapolis was horrible and what the mayor said was disgusting. I totally understand you have concerns, doubts, and suspicions. As a community, we have to be more transparent and thoughtful, especially since people paying attention should recognize there is a lot of money flowing around here and people's lives are being seriously influenced. I think you are absolutely right when you say that Paul is not paying enough attention to the possibilities of bad influences. I have been criticizing that aspect for a long while. At the same time, you are talking about my friends. Paul Vanderplay is my friend, Grim Grizz is my friend, John Van Donk is my friend. I have known them for years. I have eaten with all of them, and I have even gone to church with all of them. For all their faults, which we all have, they are good people who are doing good work. Much of what you do not see, much of which you do not see because they sincerely believe that they should not make shows of what good works they do. If you would like to speak with me privately or publicly, let me know. My email is just my last name on Gmail. And my cell phone number is easy to find through my insurance business. You can just Google my name and it is right there. So that is what I wrote on her video. So who was talking about the road trip, guys?
I think Shankenstein.
Yeah, Skankenstein. So these guys they tricked out a van. They actually put like a bunk and like a kitchenette in there. It was actually really cool. And
they came to my house.
Yeah, so they came to our estuary as well.
Oh, okay.
Conversations.
Okay. Yeah, they
went to Whataburger afterwards, and we all kind of like had coffee, and we just kind of chatted more and more. Like it was a long night, but it was cool. It was like an endless summer, but instead of surfing, it was estuary.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What would a violent nihilist fight for? Absolutely nothing, Yoav. Absolutely nothing.
They would just destroy,
which a lot of them do.
Yeah. So I think the Minneapolis shooters seemed to basically, the big thing seemed to be nihilism. Everything else was kind of extension of that, but it was nihilism.
Okay, I don't know what Minneapolis shooter you're referring to.
There's only one recent Minneapolis shooting.
What did they shoot up?
A church.
Catholic church.
Okay.
A Catholic church during Mass for like the K-8 students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a church school type thing.
Now that you're describing it, I think I remember this. I think I remember it.
Yeah, it happened a couple days ago. The guy basically went up and bolted the door at like blocked the door. It was the first. All the students were assembled in the church for the Mass, and so he blocked it. The front door, I think, with like a board, and then just with like a shotgun, a assault rifle, and a pistol, just like shot it up from the outside. So it destroyed all the windows and glass got in, and like I think there's been 2 dead so far, 14 injured. Then the gunman committed suicide, and left a manifesto, left a bunch of videos. So if we're finding out now that it was the dad who might have been encouraging the gender transition, not the mom. So it's like the mom. So the mom was really conservative, and she was pro-life and worked at the church. The dad, I guess, was more liberal, very liberal, and so they split. And soon after, the shooter turned 18 and was then basically the mom said she felt, or people were speculating on the mom. I think the mom said she felt compelled to sign off because the guy, he wasn't 18 yet, he was like 17. The mom felt compelled to sign off on the gender transition because they said, would you rather have a dead child or a trans one, that kind of thing. But it was, for the thing is, like, a lot of the stuff was driven by the dad. But again, a lot.
Yeah, I actually read through the entire manifesto and stuff.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, it's and it was a weird mix of right wing, like far right and far left shit. So,
well, he also talks about how it's like some of what he's talking about, the experience seems to be like they were dissociated episodes. So, I mean, there's obviously a lot. And I think the trans thing is just incidental because I think in a lot of these cases, like the people, it goes down to a mental health issue, but it just happens to be that nowadays, if you have those mental health issues, you're also going to get the trans diagnosis. If there weren't for the trans thing, that would still be done, been done anyway.
I mean, the hormones certainly don't help.
I mean, the SSRIs don't help too. I mean, we don't know what the medication was on, but yeah, it's like, it's just tragic all around.
Yeah.
Oh, the anime guy is on.
Adam. Yep.
Has Adam come on these Just Chatting streams before? I don't remember seeing him.
No, he doesn't join streams.
Okay. Because I've seen Adam in the chat a lot before, but I haven't seen him on the Just Chatting stream. Or any stream for that matter.
Yeah, he doesn't go on streams. Partially because it would risk his life.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He lives in a Muslim country.
Just catching up in chat. Have you been thinking about anything recently, Jacob?
No, I don't usually think about things.
When is the support group gonna start?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Only 2 people have talked about it.
So
So
it's me and one other person?
yeah, you and Sandy, I think, were the only 2 people who were.
Yeah. Well, I was looking forward to it because, like, I like talking to you about like improvement off stream, but like if only one other person's talking about it, I understand why you'd be hesitant to start it. But like, yeah, I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, you can't really have a group with less than 3 people.
Well, me, you, and Sandy, that's 3 people.
No, that would be me plus 3 people.
Okay. So you'd be like the leader?
I would be facilitating.
Okay.
And part of facilitating is not talking too much. Which, believe it or not, I sometimes try not to do.
Okay. I don't know if that's a message to me, but
No, it's not. Like,
okay. Because I get nervous when you indicate those types of things to me. Because you know me, I'm very nervous around Jacob.
everyone,
SOS.
everyone is. I'm a scary, scary guy.
I mean, I'm partially inking your chain, but I'm actually being kind of serious. Like, well, another thing is also, with a support group, would it be so? It would be on your Discord. Would it be like, would it be just in the voice call, or would it be like, would we show our faces?
I mean, I think I would encourage people to show their faces, but
Okay. I mean, I'd be willing to show my face, but I don't really like, as you can probably tell by now, I don't really like showing my faces. I mean, like, with it's you, if it's just me and you, like, I'm more willing to. It's just like, um, I don't know. There's a certain like anonymity I like feeling, even if it's off stream. It's nothing personal to your community. Like, if I was on any like sort of StreamYards thing or even Discord thing, I would be hesitant to show my.
I see, said the blind man. There is none.
Out of curiosity, with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur coming up, correct me if I'm wrong, but haven't you said previously that you celebrate this with your family?
The Rosh Hashanah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I
I
heard.
mean, Jewish holidays generally are mostly meant to be spent with family.
I mean,
If you got any
I can do it again, young God.
if you got any chin mitts to offload, especially Scotch, I can take it.
You mean chametz?
Chametz. See, I don't know how to pronounce this stuff. If you got
That's also Passover. That's not Rosh Hashanah.
darn it. Well, I'll take your yeast products at some point.
It's yeah, and usually, if you do like, there's the whole selling it through a rabbi to a Gentile thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Kind of like an FFL dealer.
it's kind of, but it's a temporary sale. So after Passover, we just get it back.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
sorry.
do you keep kosher for Passover?
What?
Do you keep kosher for Passover?
I don't keep kosher at all.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just know I've been in different synagogues where I've met people who don't keep kosher all year but do keep kosher for Passover.
Yeah,
There are such people. Yes.
So the friends I was talking about, the Jewish family we're friends with, I think they were Reform, but I think they would keep kosher like for like the holidays and such. I know they had us over for Hanukkah one year, and that was kind of cool.
Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, light the menorah.
Yeah, I spun the dreidel and won all the popcorn at some point. I remember that. And I went to hit the son's bar mitzvah and the daughter's bat mitzvah. They were great parties too.
Yeah, I've heard that. Correct me if this is wrong, Jacob. I've heard that Israeli bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs are less extravagant than diaspora American bar and bat mitzvahs.
It's not a diaspora thing. It's an American thing. American
Yeah,
bar
sounds like
mitzvahs
it's an
are
American thing.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, American bar bat mitzvahs are much more extravagant than other bar mitzvahs.
Yes.
Okay,
Ridiculously so.
I mean,
Dude,
ridiculously so, but I mean,
They're like
I would like.
weddings. That's what they are.
I know, but I would like to be invited to a bar mitzvah and have some chocolate fondue and
So
all
fun.
this.
So much, like there was always like great amounts of food.
It's honestly just an
Dancing.
excuse to have a wedding. Like, that's like, yeah, it becomes another wedding that people who don't necessarily expect their kids ever to get married have for their kids. It's pretty weird, if you ask me.
And the family was pretty well off too, so it was a very extravagant thing. But I think, come to think of it, the only two Jewish services I've ever been to have actually been in the context attending those.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
quite common.
did you go to like a reform? Were they both reform?
Yeah, I
services?
think the bat mitzvah is a reform thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, kind of. I
They
mean,
definitely were not Orthodox. They were at least they were either conservative or reform.
Okay.
well, an Orthodox bar mitzvah, you wouldn't have been invited to. Bat mitzvah, it's usually a girls only affair.
Yeah, this was all co-ed, Jewish, Gentile, everyone, yeah, everybody, lottie dottie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be reform, maybe possibly conservative, but in any event, not
No, modern Orthodox and Chabad both have bat mitzvahs, but they don't
think temple.
have it like that.
Well,
I know for a fact there was no one there. Like everyone, it was at very least it was either reform or conservative. It was
yeah.
but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I would recommend going to an Orthodox service if you want to understand how true Torah Judaism is practiced, and if, as Jacobs has indicated previously, if you go to a Reform service, and I would say this is also true for conservative, you'll get what's a poo-poo platter of Judaism. But if you go,
Yeah.
if you've only been to Reform and conservative services, as you said, which was saying, I would recommend going to an Orthodox service. But if you're a pagan, there might be complications with that.
Well, I will, like, I've been to Coptic services because Coptic chant is descended from Pharaonic chants. In fact, the priests and deacons have told me which particular hymns were descended from Pharaonic ones. So, and also learning Coptic has a bit of Egyptian in it, Egyptian and Greek. So I kind of went there to, kind of do some field research. The Chabad, where I went to the Kabbalah class, I don't think they actually host weekly services.
Probably only Shabbat. Yeah, it's very hard to get 10 adult Jewish men for services in Oklahoma.
In the middle of Oklahoma. Yeah, so I know there's a conservative and a reform congregation in OKC. I think there might be an Orthodox one, but I mean, there's a Hindu temple, and I've been there a couple times to kind of observe the services. It was kind of cool. So there's actually a Georgian Orthodox monastery, and in my town by my town there's a Catholic abbey, and I know one of the brothers there. Like, he and I will talk. Like, we'll have tea together, and he wants to come to our place and have a nice kind of long chat. And I know one of the priests there as well because he's a veteran too, so we hit it off. So I try to make the rounds and kind of interfaith dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. It's just Reform and conservative Judaism.
Oh yeah. It's way different. it's yeah.
Well,
I don't think Orthodox use guitars in their services.
Well, what's interesting, Jacob, is and I this is kind of, I'm partially a statement, but partially a question for you, Jacob. Is I've actually heard from some people that conservative Judaism actually, and people like I believe Saul Lieberman is a name I've heard like this, and Abraham Joshua Heschel, were actually pretty close to modern Orthodox back in the day, and it's only modern conservative that has sort of gone off the rails. But like
East Coast, like New York conservative synagogues are very close to modern Orthodox everywhere other than in New York.
Okay. And yeah, because I've heard. Well, that's interesting because I've also heard Abraham Joshua Heschel, who I thought was from the South, also was pretty close to modern Orthodox in his practice. But I don't know much about Abraham Joshua
Well,
Heschel.
he taught at JTS, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, which is the conservative. Is that the conservative rabbinic?
JTS is in New York.
Oh, okay, yeah. And are they like the Rabbinic Assembly of Conservative Judaism, or are they like?
It's their main seminary.
Okay. Yeah, so I suppose in the East Coast apparently it's pretty close to modern Orthodoxy. Well, I wonder why the other parts of America are for the conservative movement are not like that.
Well, New York is a very special place in terms of being Jewish.
Well, I know there's a lot of Jewish communities in New York, but I didn't know Judaism.
Because of the concentration of Jews, that like it becomes a lot more, yeah, conservative synagogues in New York are much more traditional than conservative synagogues anywhere else in the country.
Yeah. Then
Are Reform synagogues in New York much more liberal than other
No,
Reform? Okay,
no,
they're all
they're actually more conservative. But I think like in New York, you end up like there aren't that many Reconstructionist or humanist synagogues outside of New York.
Hmm.
Reconstruction,
okay. So they took all the really left leaning ones.
yeah. I mean, Reconstructionist is weird.
Yeah.
So classic Reform were like opposed to using Hebrew. Like that's not something you see much anymore. But like 50 years ago, like a Reform synagogue was defined by the fact they were opposed to using Hebrew.
Hmm.
well the reform also I've heard that ideologically they used to be more like I wonder if that's correlated to like their anti-Zionism, like because I've heard that they used to be much more anti-Zionist in the early days of reform, whereas they became more Zionist. And I wonder if the adoption of Hebrew is related to like the adoption of Zionism and modern Reform Judaism.
Yep. Although now they're going back to being less and less Zionist, but yes.
Although not anti-Zionist in the way you are, Jacob, necessarily.
I call myself a non-Zionist.
Okay, so non-Zionist. Okay, so you've switched from anti-Zionist to
So,
non-Zionist.
I know I know someone who is used to be Christian, is transgender, who now is Reform Jew.
Very,
In LA. In LA.
very common.
Many such cases.
Why would that be very common?
Uh, there's yeah.
If you're
For
gonna have it, I think Reform synagogues are the more where you're more likely to find rainbow vestments.
Well, I understand that, but I thought most of these people who are like ex-Christian, transgender, are like anti-religious generally because they think that like, oh, religion.
they are, which is particularly why, if they are going to be religious, they will pick something like Baha'i or Judaism or Islam, anything other than Christian.
Okay, so they want to feel like exotic and non-Western.
Or just non-Christian. And this person isn't Christian. I mean, this person's rejected Christianity, but it's still very like is someone who I can have good conversations with. In fact, we joke that in fact we can even have good political conversations. We agree not to address certain topics, obviously certain elephants in the room, but we're pretty cool with it. And we also both have like a gallows humor about things, so that kind of helps. So this was just general. It was a genuine seeking. It's genuinely this person was like, no, I feel really comfortable in Judaism, and I'm cool with it. So I'm like I'm Mazel tov.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Reform and the conservative converts is I've heard one Chabad Orthodox Jew say this, and I think it makes sense, which is like, I'm curious what you think about this, Jacob, but basically, they're not halakhically Jewish, not that they've converted Reform or conservative, but they're basically one step away from Noahide. I mean, they at least adopt the idea of Torah, even if they don't really understand what that entails. So, like, I mean, I guess it's one step closer to being a Noahide, right?
Noahide-ish.
Mm,
Noahide.
Not quite, because like, yeah. But I mean, I'd rather someone be a Reformed Jew than be an atheist.
I would rather they be a Christian.
Well, yeah. Didn't you say that you prefer that Andrew Clavin's now a Catholic rather than the
Well,
was he raised
he's
conservative?
a Christian. He's not a Catholic, but I have always said better a Christian who believes in God in three gods than a Reformed who believes in zero gods.
Okay, because
Is Reform basically atheist at this point?
Very much so.
okay, I've been that.
Well, the thing is, it's like so. One of the guys on here, Max, showed would when he found this video, he was showing it to everyone. It was the rabbi from his conservative synagogue talking to a rabbit from a reform synagogue, and the two of them were discussing the people that they went to rabbinical school with, and the rabbit said, "Yeah, I would say 90% of the people at HUC were, yeah, the God idea, at HUC were atheists, and the conservative rabbi similarly was like, yeah, I would say that's about right for JTS as well.
Huh.
Wow,
Like,
that's crazy.
no,
I mean,
like, it's especially the clergy, even more than the people who are in the pews, who are absolutely atheists.
I wonder why that is.
Did the robot have glasses and short gray spiky hair?
I don't remember.
There's a type.
Yes, there is. There definitely is. The the thing is, it's like there are plenty of Jews who are like, well, I'm not so religious, so I'm going to go to a Reform synagogue, but they still like believe in God. They still believe in Torah, etc., etc., etc. But the people who end up being religious leaders, right? They if they were serious, you get females who are serious who become conservative rabbits because in Orthodoxy they just couldn't be a rabbi, and that's what they really, really want to do. But a lot of it is people who like they just like the idea of a Jewish culture. I almost made a video on this, the religion, race, and ethnicity, and the distinctions between them. But people get very offended when you say, no, Judaism is a religion. If you don't believe in Judaism, you're not Jewish. Like, and it's their identity. It's what they know as their identity, and they want to be affirmed in their identity. And it's like, sorry, I don't need to affirm you in your identity and water down my religion like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why someone would put years of their life into a cultural thing like that of if they don't even believe in God. Like I could understand one thing if it's like, oh, I believe in God, but like revelation is maybe like inspiration rather than communication. Like because like I hear that a lot from like some of these conservative Jews. It's like, oh well, God didn't directly reveal the Torah, but he just inspired. But I could understand someone like that dedicating their time to becoming a rabbi. But if someone's an outright atheist or doesn't even believe in God,
What
I don't
other
understand
identity do they have?
what was that?
What other identity do they have? What
Well,
are they
then at that point, why waste their time becoming a religious leader at
Well,
all? Why don't they
because
go into software
well,
engineering?
if they're going, if it's kind of like, well, if they're atheists or maybe they don't necessarily even believe in some objective, like if it's all arbitrary, you still have to choose some. You have to choose some axiom. So they decide, hey, I'll go with this. Yeah, maybe I was raised this way. Maybe it's this is like I get a monotheistic God without all the Jesus baggage. I get the original, it's classic Coke, right? So I get my Abraham and classic Coke, and and then that's like, yeah, it's the God idea. It's not so much that they like Judaism, but they like the idea of Judaism.
Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, I do understand there is a concept of like Jews as a nation having their own culture, but like there's a difference between a nation having their own culture and that being the same as Judaism. Like, yes, Jewish culture involves lox and bagels, but that doesn't make lox and bagels Jewish food.
and it is a very, and I would say, I don't know if you can correct me on this, Jacob, but yeah, their idea of Judaism is also very much that Ashkenazi New York Jewish, like maybe for some people, like it's not just I pray the Siddur. It's I like Knish, it's you got to have the cholent, it's specific food, it's specific things.
Yeah, it's Eastern European. They're Eastern Europeans, and they imagine Eastern European is something other than white, because God forbid they would be white, and so it's all shit.
It's kind of the it's like the Anglo Zoomer women who suddenly start dressing like Russian peasants when they be converted to Orthodoxy. Again, it's the idea of that culture. Even if you don't believe in the propositions, the theological propositions, you're still happy. Yeah, it's like you're reading culturally. I'm culturally Catholic. What does that even mean? Well, no, you like the 1950s pre-Vatican Catholic with lots of lace when people had nice, crew cuts. Like there's a theme you're going for.
Yeah.
And so there can be, if you got to anchor yourself to a theme. I mean, I can think of worse things in like suburban America, but at some point you're like, are you going for the trappings, or are you going for the belief?
Yeah.
Are you just like, and then we can talk about, in pagan spaces, we talk about, LARPing. This is why I tell people, and I've actually had Substacks about this, like, do you need to obey all the priestly taboos that certain temples might have had? It's like, do you always need to go wear white? Do you need to always dress like the Egyptians dressed? Do you have to, do you only have to offer what they offer? It's like, no, it's like, you look at like how, like when the Greeks adopted Egyptian religion, it would change the way they practice it had more of a Greek or Roman character. So it's kind of like, how do you keep those you got to focus on the central elements, the big thing. Like if I was Jewish, like if I could actually look, if I was Jewish and I could not look at myself in the mirror and say I firmly believe everything, literally the Shema, then I wouldn't be Jewish. Like there's a set of things you got to do. Like there are Kemetic Egyptian pagans I've talked to where they're like, oh yeah, like morality is relative and it just depends on our culture, which is like not at all what like the Egyptians believed in the feather of truth. That was that absolute morality and reality. It's like I tell people, it's like I keep my politics usually to myself. I kind of let it slip every now and then. But one thing I say on my Substack is you cannot be postmodernist and be like Egyptian. Like that doesn't jive. You have to believe in you have to be a moral realist and believe in objective reality. Like that's kind of and the truth. Like that's kind of a thing. If you don't believe in that, then you're just dressing up as a pharaoh, walking like an Egyptian. And, your idea of Ma'at is not what the Egyptians wrote about it. It's like, oh, social justice, which is like Tikkun Olam, right? Like the reform, like Tikkun Olam is basically the Democrat Party platform. It's kind of like, and at that point, it's kind of like, well, why not just, there was actually a progressive Muslim I talked to, and he was very progressive. And I asked him, I said, if you lost your faith in Islam and you were an atheist, would you still have all of your political positions? He said, yes. I said, then you're not a progressive Muslim. I said, you are not a Muslim who happens to be progressive. You are a standard Democrat who prays 5 times a day. So a lot of Reform Jews really strike me as basic Democrats who keep kosher for who have who keep kosher for the Sabbath maybe, but it's like their main direction is something else.
Yeah, I mean there is a concept of Tikkun Olam I've heard like in genuine Orthodox Judaism, but it's not the thing that Reform Jews are after. Like Tikkun Olam, to my understanding in Orthodox Judaism, and you can correct me if it's wrong, but to my understanding, it's the idea that basically if you perform the mitzvot, you'll basically bring godliness into this world. But Reform Jews don't even believe in keeping the mitzvot, to my understanding. So, like,
Reform Jews don't even believe in the Messiah, the restoration of the temple. Like, I mean, and I think the premise of Reform was that you're in the Messianic age now.
Yeah, isn't that the whole idea that Berlin is the New Jerusalem? Wasn't that a Reform slogan?
Huh. Well, that Maybe in the 1800s that held water, but it's kind of hard to say that now.
It's one thing that Orthodoxy very much reminds Reform of is, yeah, you guys were the ones who were saying that it's what you call it, that yeah, you guys were. I mean, you read the Pittsburgh platform, and it's like, dude, just. I mean, even Reform has run away from the Pittsburgh platform.
Yeah.
I was going to find this tweet of mine.
Yeah, and I mean, Reform. Another thing was also was Andrew Clavin was. I thought he was raised conservative, not Reform. Was he raised Reform?
Reform, conservative, what's the difference?
Well, there is a. I mean, I thought there. I mean, in my experience, I have been to a conservative synagogue, and I have known quite a few people in. And not, I don't know. No, I mean, I've seen some of the rabbis, but I haven't seen some people in the conservative synagogue who, who did like they walked to shul on Shabbos. They believe in
Yeah,
God. They believe in,
they do the cultural things more because it's more culturally cultural, but like they don't actually believe in God.
They adopt the mitzvah. What mitzvah they adopt is out of culture rather than a genuine belief that it is a divine commandment.
but I have heard conservative
It's a
Jews
custom,
identify as
not a law.
Well, that might be true for some of them, but I have met conservative Jews who claim to believe in God at least, and like I'll take them at their word.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I was thinking more about the Reform. Reform Jews tend to,
So this is the mayor of Minneapolis saying stupid things. In Judaism, under Tikkun Olam, because he doesn't even know what it is, but heal the world, okay, whatever. We are taught that prayer is necessary but not sufficient. Elected leaders cannot use prayers alone to let ourselves off the hook for our inaction. And what I wrote is, how do you know someone is using Judaism as a prop? The vocalization symbols are a great clue. He cut and pasted the words Tikkun Olam. You can see it has all of the vocalizations there.
I see the little dots.
Yep. And he doesn't know how to spell, and I assure you he could never vocalize himself. I assure you he doesn't know whether there's a kamatz katan, kamatz gadol, or a patach under the lamed there, if he could find the lamed there. But whatever.
Is that what's the name of the vocalizations again?
Nikud.
Nikud, yeah.
Gideon says, my cousin's Reform synagogue was less liturgically traditional than my conservative one, but my rabbi was still agnostic. Can Reform Jews please stop creating free screenshots for a great
I have to agree with Gideon here. Please, Reform Jews, stop creating such room for anti-Semites.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not like, I don't think they're bad people. Like, I think they
Yeah,
are
they
honest people. Well,
Jake.
I think if someone's raised in a reform or conservative household and they never like thought like they never like existentially self-reflected like why am I doing this? Like I think that's thoughtlessness, but I don't think that's like intentional evil on their part.
They may actually just enjoy the customs and enjoy being, standard Democrats, and it's like if they don't feel an inadequacy.
And they want it to be an ethnicity. That's what they want it to be. They want Judaism to be an ethnicity. And Judaism is not an ethnicity, it is a religion.
Well, yes, but to be fair, there is undoubtedly it appears to be a ethnic because of years of intra marriage within the Jewish community.
You could say the exact same thing about cradle Catholics, and people do. They say they're ethnically Catholic. They say they're ethnically Mormon. They say they're ethnically Protestant. It's
Especially
all
Mormonism. You can tell a Mormon guy. You can tell a Mormon guy they're in shape. They're clean cut. You know, there's a type, especially with that selective Mormon breeding.
yeah. I mean, it's I so tracing wood grains. I had him on my channel once. Interesting guy, very smart, but yeah, he was raised Mormon, and and I mean he really doesn't want to think about it too much. I think, but I mean, I was having this argument on his Twitter with some people, and it's like, I'm sorry, no, there's no such thing as an ethnic Jew. There's no such thing as an ethnic Mormon. There's no such thing as an ethnic Catholic, because yeah, the Mormon things that, you know, being an Eagle Scout or whatever, you know, and having lemonade instead of soda, but once you no longer religiously believe in it, that's not something you are maintaining, and it might be part of your history and who you were, but like, that's your history, and I understand it's part of your identity, but don't try to make it into something it's not, which is an ethnicity, in order to maintain what feels better for you in terms of identity.
Exactly.
Drinking lemonade has no epigenetic effect.
Yeah, and this kind of reminds me actually of an incident. So I've told you this before, Jacob, but I have gone under a conservative. I originally started converting to a conservative synagogue, and what happened was one time and this was long ago. I was talking with some older members there, and I was saying like I think the prohibition on intermarriage was racist because this was Young Kirk, and Young Kirk then wasn't based in Orthodox build yet, but basically what happened was we were talking about this, and he was saying, "No, I don't think the prohibition on intermarriage was racist. Like, because you should be able to preserve the religion." But then I asked, like, so preserving the religion, so you guys believe that like God revealed in Torah? I said, no, I believe in God, but it's obvious the Torah wasn't revealed by God on Mount Sinai. Who could believe such fable like nonsense? But then you don't believe in the religion, and then the prohibition on intermarriage is racist because if you don't actually believe God commanded there's against intermarriage, then you don't actually believe in the religion, and therefore you are being racist.
Exactly. I say this to Reform people constantly. Don says, I just get the impression that Clavin didn't actually give real Judaism a chance before jumping into Christianity. There's a gap in his story to me. So he tells this story, which frankly I think is so much more symbolic than he himself realizes, about how he received this valise full of gold and money and, you know, lots of, you know, expensive things for his bar mitzvah, and he felt guilty about it because he felt like he hadn't earned it. And so in the middle of the night he sneaks out of his house and he stuffs this valise full of gold into the trash can so that it wouldn't be found again, right? And I'm like, do you not realize this is what you have done with your Judaism? Like that he talks about it, and he talks about how like he felt like a fraud, etc. And it's like, yeah, you took all of that gold and you threw it away. So I am glad he has found Christianity, because that's like I've said, 3 gods is better than none. But like ultimately he's yeah. I mean, I've never gotten to talk to him, so I wonder if I ever do get to talk to him, if I will ever have the gumption to bring that up with him.
Well, I don't know, because to my understanding, Orthodox Jews don't evangelize or proselytize, but like Do Orthodox Jews evangelize and proselytize to secular Jews or to Jews who convert to other religions?
We don't proselytize, but we certainly do try to help them see the value of Judaism.
Okay, so like if you met Clavin, would you try and like say like, hey, like have you considered this argument against, Christianity?
No, I don't think that's the way to do it. But I mean, I would certainly invite him to go to a Shabbat dinner and see what like somebody who actually believes in God, how they view Judaism.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. It's just to me, the way I see it is like I understand why you don't proselytize to non-Jews because of the Noahide laws, but to me, when it comes to fellow Jews, if they already have an obligation to observe the Torah, it would make sense you'd provide these arguments for why they should.
Arguments, I mean, and this is funny because Spencer Clavin is one of the people who told me like arguments don't really convince people, and to some extent, I think some people do get convinced by arguments, and I think people need permission to believe, and they need to know the arguments in order to feel that they have permission to believe. But if ultimately it's not just the arguments. I mean, I love Gideon as much as I can love any apostate Jew, but let's face it, before he's actually going to in any way consider going back to Judaism, like he's married with kids. Like what is that going to do to his marriage if he's suddenly not Catholic anymore, right?
I see.
And I could give him any argument in the world, like first and foremost, he's married with kids.
I see. So the reason, so you say Orthodox Jews don't provide arguments to secular Jews why they should become Orthodox Jews?
Yeah, they
because-
do, but it's not like I will provide any argument. Like if Gideon wants an argument, I'll give him as many arguments as he wants, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna go around thinking that the argument is what's going to convince him to change his mind, or B, shove it down his throat. Like,
Okay, that makes sense.
It's
Yeah.
logos versus pathos. Sometimes you can argue, like I'm a logos person. Like I like to I will actually do arguments, and I like to hang with people who will be swayed by arguments. But I know there are a lot of people who you can argue to blue in the face if they went to an evangelical, stadium concert, and obviously, when you go to a concert, you're dancing with everyone, you get a really, really good feeling. I've had it before. I've gone to school dances, and like I'm dancing with my friends, and we're feeling like this energy, and it's awesome. Someone who goes to an evangelical, stadium revival, and they're all doing the same thing, they're going to get that same dynamic. If that to them is God, it's very hard to convince them propositionally that no, what you were feeling was is that's fine, but that's not God, because that was interpreted as the Holy Spirit and the ecstasy. It's very if you're Apollonian, you could probably like Ben Shapiro is very Apollonian. You have like the nice arguments and discussions. A lot of people are Dionysian. They like being literally holy rollers, rolling around, feeling ecstatic. That ecstatic trance. The rush of adrenaline. Like for some people, that works for them, and you can fight pathos with pathos and go, hey, man, I feel what you're feeling. I feel in my religion, And that's why I think asking someone to, hey, can you want to go to church with me? That's an evangelization attempt, because they're hoping that maybe you'll feel just as groovy as they did when they converted.
Yeah.
When I went to my friend's Protestant church, I did not feel that, because I realized with horror that the entire service, not only were the songs subpar, but the entire service was one giant homily. And as a Catholic, the homily was the most boring part for me. because I wanted to get to the part with the juice and the cracker and the stand up and sit down and the responsorial, getting some like ritual going on. Like sitting there getting lectured at is like, oh, this is the worst part. So that didn't work. But if you get enough people in, you cast your hook. Jesus said, "I'll make you fishers of men." So baiting someone with false hope and yanking them out of their environment and having them slowly die on the inside. I mean, I guess it's a metaphor. I guess.
Is pathos, what does that mean? Is that like practice?
No, pathos is like an emotional argument, and or like emotions or feeling. Basically, logos would be like facts and logic. Here's my prepositions. Here's my evidence. Here's how it strings together. Pathos is like an empathy trigger. Like you can talk all you want about. No, listen, Hamas uses human shields. They intercept all the aid, and then they put out starving kids for your consumption. You can explain them all of Hamas's playbook and how they admit it and how they all the facts you want. If they simply say, "Think of the children," that can override a lot of people's brains. An empathy trigger, But 30,000. But look how many have died, and you can explain all the context you want. It's very easy for someone to simply, cut to the chase and go, "But dead people," and not everyone can get over that.
And let's face it, females tend to be much more pathos-based than males.
Well, and you look at and you'll see this is what I mean. Right now at least, there's pathos and logos on both sides, but certain political views will be really pathos. Others might be logos to the point where they rationalize themselves into silliness. But yeah.
I mean, I think with regards to pathos, I felt very pathos in a Jewish context. Like all the synagogue services I've been to, I find the liturgy beautiful. I find the prayers beautiful. So
absolutely, yeah. Well, again, that's the experiential thing. That if they're thinking like if you experience it for yourself, it'll be that maybe that experience will speak to you in a way that bypasses the intellect, or if you're being charitable, rides the intellect. That's why when our liturgies, I choose the most of all the prayers and stuff. When I'm kind of building a liturgy, I choose the prayers from Edfu that I think are the most profound. Like I say, let's like the most cosmic, but also the most emotional. I want something that stirs people and teaches the fundamentals. So,
Don McD asked Jacob, how is Fezzi doing? He doesn't seem to have been around here much lately.
Fezzi's been busy, and also Fezzi and I have been having our disagreements. So, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed he hasn't done the prayer stream for the past couple of weeks, and that's interesting because I thought he was going to start a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he's figuring things out.
Okay, I hope he starts soon because I mean I've asked him on Discord and I don't know. I miss him because I love Hezi. I love Hezi, but
all love Hezi. We all love Hezi.
Have you met Hezi Temple?
I've engaged with him a couple times, but it hasn't been really what I would call productive. So, but I do see him. I see him on. And he seems very knowledgeable. I would like to have talks with him about the topics he's knowledgeable on, rather than Israeli politics. I've had some good chats with half a Rabbi Joseph. He's a guy. I like him. We've had some good talks. He's a good guy to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, I like Yosef. I like Hezi. I mean, Ben, all the Orthodox Jews in this community, I have some respect for, although I have more respect for some over others. If you know, you know. And when it comes to Hezi specifically, I mean, he seems pretty knowledgeable about Israeli politics from what I've seen. Like, I've talked to him about it, and he does seem, even if you disagree with his opinions, he does seem to understand the history of it.
He's very knowledgeable, yeah.
I mean, to my understanding, the main difference is that he thinks there's. I mean, I can't speak for him. So, but to my understanding, he thinks there's more messianic significance to Israel than Jacob seems to be. Seems to be the main difference in their hashkafot, you might say, or which I believe is like Jewish, like their outlook. But like other than that, I mean, an Orthodox Jew is an Orthodox Jew, whether they call themselves a Zionist or not.
I'm generally my sympathy toward Israel is non-religious. It's simply it seems the most Western and functional country in the region, and so leave them alone, guys. Like, if I had to live in that region, if I'd live in the Middle East, I'd probably be more at home, or at least I'd probably be able to get along better in Israel relatively to others.
And they wouldn't kill you.
Right, exactly. Like I'd love to live I'd like to visit Egypt, but I know that Egypt being a predominantly Muslim country now would probably not be it like Jordan, Egypt would probably be better, but like Saudi Arabia, Syria, Lebanon. Like I'm like there are places where you can rank. If you rank in the whole area, it's kind of like Israel's. Like, yeah, you guys seem actually fair. Like you got your thing, everything together. So
And they wouldn't murder you.
and they wouldn't
Whereas the other places would.
they wouldn't throw me off of buildings or give me lashings. Like they'd probably just send me to Tel Aviv. So
Yeah.
And let's just face it, Mediterranean food is Mediterranean food. So I can still get my baklava and my shawarma, and maybe I could probably even get full medemas there. They'd probably call it something different, but I could still get my fava beans. So we're good. We're cool.
I'm Greek, so I also like Mediterranean food, but I don't know if I've had shawarma before. Isn't shawarma isn't that like a euro?
Yeah, it's basically a hero.
Yeah.
It's all very and whatever your flaky pastries are with cheese, it's like there's a version of that too. That's why in America most it's hard to. I don't find a lot of Greek restaurants or Lebanese restaurants. It'll be just kind of Mediterranean restaurant. It's kind of like very similar. But I have made full madames on my own. I got the canned fava beans and olive oil and stuff, so I'm pretty good.
Yoav, not everybody lives in North Tel Aviv. There are places in Israel you can have backyards. It's just that you're definitely not going to have grass in those backyards, probably.
What is that? Is that fruit punch?
Backyard in Israel.
No, it is fruit and vegetable pouches.
Don McD, I would probably.
And it is kosher.
Don, would you have a horse temple in your backyard in Israel? Actually, I did see there are like pagans in Israel, but I would probably just buy the big Sukkoth hut to kind of disguise it. Well, because Egyptian temples, it's thought before, so we start seeing them being made of limestone and sandstone starting the New Kingdom. It's suspected that before then they were made out of reed huts.
Really?
And that maybe even the architecture of it, that's bundled papyrus or stuff like plants and stuff, might be a kind of a reference to those early kind of reed, like the construction of reeds. Like the original pre-dynastic temples were likely a reed hut with a standard, kind of like a pole, like a standard, and the standard would be the horse guys would have a little falcon standard as like their cult object, but it would be there was one point in the 5th dynasty where you have sun temples, which is a giant squat obelisk in a courtyard, but that was only for the fifth dynasty, and we know where they exist, but they're in a state of ruin where we don't have any of the writings or rituals from them, which is unfortunate. It would be kind of cool, but yeah, reed hut.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I am going to go to bed soon. Do you have any last words you would like to share with our intrepid audience of billions and millions of people.
Thanks for having me on.
Rational creatures. The last words I have are rational creatures usually go to bed at these times.
They do. Herb, was there anything you wanted to end with?
Thanks for having me on, Jacob. Had a good conversation.
It was a good conversation, and yeah, it's been like way over a year since we talked. When were you in Los Angeles when we got together?
Yeah, it was last year. I was there recently, and earlier this month.
But I was out of town, I think, when you were saying.
Yeah. So I have family there, so I try to visit in the summer and around like Christmas time. So I try to be there 1 week, one separate week each, twice a year. So
Well, I mean, if you're here the Tuesday, we have Estuary. That might be a good time to show up. But we'll talk next time you're here. And Andrew, go to bed. Kirk, go to bed. And good night, people.
Good night.
And have a happy Labor Day. And try not to think of the communists too much because they're horrible people. Good night.
agreed.